Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Geek First podcast. I guess kind of a special report, not official episode number, but man, is it a special one. I'm gonna use just a cheesy one. I'm the marvelous Travis Snail.
I'm the Fantastic Field.
Oh-ho!
I'm the Phase 4 Tyler Briggs.
Oh! Is Dylan Musk gonna take it off?
Fuck you guys, I'm the Night Fly Dylan Musk.
Ladies and gentlemen, we were talking about something that I didn't think we'd be talking about till we were probably in our 40s, maybe 50s. This is
60s
something,
even. Yeah.
This is something that, to be clear, we're talking about Disney buying Fox. This is something that I thought about. We talk about us as geeks and we talk about like, oh man, we're getting all this great stuff. Like we got Infinity War coming out and there's Star Wars movies and they're maybe making a radar Star Trek movie, all this. But I always thought that it must kind of suck at some point to be like in your 60s and 70s. If you're a fan of this comic book, you're like, man, I'm getting to the near end of my life and they're finally doing like this. This sucks a little. I always thought that was going to be myself with X-Men. I was going to be like, it's not going to happen until I'm 60 and they're like, finally, we're doing it. But it looks like it's happening now. We're going to talk about because there's a lot to talk about. That's why we didn't do it as a newscast episode because there's a lot of angles to jump into. I want to just honestly start with, are you guys happy that it's going this way? Because we have talked about how we like, the idea of a multiple man movie. Deadpool, Logan, Fox has been doing some really experimental superhero movies. Just the fact of do we like that Disney will, and we'll talk about like Alien, Predator, all that, but we'll just focus on the superhero stuff right now, that they'll just engulf all these properties and they'll be back home.
I don't know if I'm like happy about it or not, but it's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. Either way, maybe not
this
either
is a
way.
podcasting
If they don't buy it, then it's like, well, nothing really happened. We're kind of just getting fake hype. But if they do buy it, that's just so many things to talk about. And obviously, for our podcast like that, that'll just fill us up with like things to talk about for months and years to come, even.
Which
so
also,
it's exciting. But
to cut you off, we do have a part 2 where we're going to fantasy cast the X-Men and Fantastic Four. Mm-hmm. We're not sure if we're going to do it solo with teams, but there's a lot of angles.
There's almost too many.
Yeah.
The only the big concern for me is obviously Disney doesn't really like to mess around with R ratings and such, like things like that. So that's a concern considering how many it's not just the superhero stuff as well, but even Alien and Predator and stuff like that. What would those things be like as well? There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's like maybe a bit worrisome. I don't think either way that they would make like bad movies, even if they made a Deadpool and it wasn't like R-rated. I think they could still make a good Deadpool movie. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It might be different than like what the look at what we got with Logan and Deadpool. Like it'd probably be at least a different direction than those movies were going. Yeah. Unless they set it up as like a separate studio within there where they're just making like R-rated movies.
Because we've talked about this before. My problem with the separate studio thing, I feel like just the comic book stuff. I feel like, why would they buy it then? Maybe they just want that library, but my thing is, I feel like they buy them to get those characters back in the MCU, right? And there's this kind of thing where it's like, we're Daredevil, Punisher, Jessica Jones, we kind of get this vibe that maybe we'll see them one day, but now if this purchase happens, I think we'll definitely maybe never see them because we have all these new Shining toys that'll come over. Yep. So that's my thing, the only thing I think they could make this separate studio for your Predators, for your Planet of the Apes, but I feel like if they get Wolverine, if they get Mr. Fantastic, I feel like they can't stop themselves from not using them, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, I feel like it's kind of a foregone conclusion that this will happen. So that's my only thing of like, I don't know what they do with a Deadpool, what they do with a James Franco multiple man. Like, I don't think that actually ever happens now if we're going that route. Because that's the thing, I feel like, would they really want to put like Deadpool off the side and never cash in on that? That's my thing where I go, Disney, ultimate money-making machine, is going to want to use everything possible, imaginable.
Exactly. They could even just like rock a pseudonym and just go under that perspective and just have like their studio that makes these more dark movies.
But if
movies that are intended for adults only.
If there's a radar Deadpool, does he go at all over to the MCU stuff? That's the problem.
Well, we even had that debate when it was just Deadpool and X-Men movies. Like, would he be in an X-Men movie? If so, would it be the same old Deadpool, or they could go the route of like censoring it, and he could talk about him being censored and work because he's fourth wall character and stuff like that.
Tyler Briggs, how are you feeling about all this? It's a lot to take in.
I think it's good in the long run, but I think it really depends what Disney does with it. And I mean, it's all speculation because they could just they could acquire it all and just have and keep everything how Fox has it in a way with what they're doing with this sort of separate superhero universes they got with mostly X-Men. Mm-hmm. But they could also end up...
Sorry, Fantastic Four.
Yeah, they could just kind of bring it into their Disney fold.
Yeah.
And I think if this had happened in 5-10 years, I would have been much more excited about it because
in the past, or
no, in
the
like
future?
5-10 years in the future. Because right now, what's nice is because Marvel is dominating their sort of section, and Disney's dominating with Marvel. I guess they're set that sort of quippy, fun, family friendly
action comedy.
Yeah. They're dominating that market. Fox, being a separate entity, has to come up with something new. And so they're pushing that with these new X-Men's that have come out, with Logan, with Deadpool, and they're doing their own thing there. And we've got the New Mutants coming out. Multiple Man would have potentially been a really cool thing.
Yeah.
And they're doing that because they have to make their own sort of universe, because they can't compete with Disney in the action comedy. And I think that's a wonderful direction for superhero movies to go to. And if Disney acquires them, Disney may not want to be related to these R-rated movies, to this other universe. And because then they'll get all these people being like, oh, well, do I watch these movies or watch these movies?
It's a lot of baggage to take on.
Same umbrella.
X-Men's been going since 2000, and it's a lot of baggage to take that on. And especially, like, we'll talk about it in a bit. I guess you could do some like time travel trickery and be like, oh, they were here all along, but like I don't see them doing that. Yeah. I see like Captain America being like, no, he was the first guy, like, and we moved on from that. I guess that's the other thing me and Dylan talked about the other night was what my biggest question is too. I wonder what they do with the remaining stuff that is coming, like a Multiple Man, even just people that work there. Do they get bought out? Do they get kind of sucked into the system? Because if there's not a Fox, whatever, like if it's just called, we'll just call Disney Fox now. Let's say that's a studio, terrible name, but it's Disney Fox. So, how many of those people do they keep? That's what I mean. Would they still go to James Franco and be like, "Hey, we'd still like to do this movie with you. You're interested?" Or is it just cut out the knees, like, "Hey, that was happening"? But so it's very similar to like game developers. Like it was a long time ago when this was recorded, but it was a few months ago when Visceral got shut down by EA, right? And it's like they just took that Star Wars game, like, well, we're making it over here now. And it wasn't like they didn't take. I think they took maybe only a few amount of people with them, but their head creative, their head director, all of that was gone. And I feel like Disney's gonna do the same to like the comic book stuff. The other stuff, I think that is almost more they're gonna worry about later. I don't think they need to worry about Ridley Scott and the Alien Covenant series. You know, I don't think they're like, man, like I think they want those movies in their library. They want Alien 1 and Alien 2 and maybe Alien vs. Predator, I guess. But Taylor, you can finally get your Alien vs. Predator ride at Disneyland.
That would be actually sick.
You know what we can do?
That could be really cool, actually.
It'd be cool. Aliens versus X-Men.
Oh,
well, that's the thing. I don't know if I want them in movies, but I want them as animated movies. It's the same way I've always said. I don't know if Star Wars and Marvel should have a crossover, but they should do an animated movie just for fun. But Taylor, you've been quiet. What are your thoughts on? Because you're not even a big X-Men fan. You don't really care where they're going right now. You're just like, oh, I may see it, I may not. So how does this impact you at all? And I guess you can throw in Fantastic Four, I guess, as well. But how are you feeling about this purchase?
Always forget about them.
We're going to talk. I have a separate section where we're going to talk about them. So they won't be forgotten this time.
Between the two, I'm more excited for Disney to get Fantastic Four.
Oh my god!
That's not even surprising.
Yeah.
I have to say I'm on the same page for that. Because
I know, I actually
the X-Men actually have good things going with them, with Logan and whatnot. Yeah. Whereas Fantastic Four has nothing going for them. Marvel could bring them back from the grave.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I was overreacting.
They're like 3 or 4 graves deep.
Yeah. And then you have Chris Evans come back and play the Human Torch.
I really want to see that, actually.
Imagine if they kill him off as Captain Infinity War and they just cast him as reincarnates and they don't even mention it. It's just
and
like
then they kill him off and he reincarnates as like some other new character and just keeps going.
Or the Fantastic Four come into the Marvel universe, and then he's now just
two at the same time. Yeah,
they could do it.
They demote him. We're recasting Captain America. He was originally the Human Torch. We're gonna go back to that, even though he's like
really like
now.
what he did.
Like that's where I belong. I really find myself in that character. Captain America, no, not so much.
Sorry, Taylor. Go on.
I think it's got a lot of benefits for Disney to buy all these films and stuff, but the main thing for me that I put above like obviously the superhero films are like my Predator movie and Alien franchise.
Wow.
Like
Your
that's
Predator movie.
my Predator movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That doesn't sound good, actually.
You're a Predator movie.
That's it's if they don't shelve those things and they do go with like I don't know how they would do it in another studio or whatever, like as long as they give a good little bit of attention to those other franchises and don't just shelve them, then I'm all for this deal. But if so many of those films and but primarily the Alien and Predator ones are just benched, then I will be very, very displeased and not okay with this whatsoever. I feel like, if they're getting it all like in whole just for like the superhero aspect, which I know that it's a huge portion, obviously.
I think that's I don't know what is bigger for me. I don't know if it's the app or that. I think the app nudges it a little bit because this app's important, but I really do think they want to acquire all this stuff and stop messing around because we've talked about that before. After Infinity War, it is kind of this like, what do you do next, right? Okay, you could pull from Marvel, Netflix. That would be big for one movie, but that's not going to get you another 10 years, right?
No.
And then it's like, okay, you're already pulling the Guardians, or like Infinity War literally has every character we've already met, right? So what could you do next time? I think Fantastic Four, X-Men, I almost forgot the fucking X-Men. X-Men, Deadpool, and then like all their villains. I do wonder I'd love to be a fly on the wall to know what the main reason is they're buying this. I think it is for the app, but I think that Marvel stuff is really big to them. And I think any chance Sony presents themselves to sell Spider-Man back, I think they take that too. I think there's just more of a weird relationship there, and Sony's not giving up. But I think if Sony's ever in the same situation with Fox, like, hey, we're selling some stuff off, they're gonna scoop that up, and you'll get no fucking Morbius the Living Vampire movie or whatever.
Darn, man. I was excited for that.
So I think with the superhero stuff, I think unfortunately that is a big thing, and maybe The Simpsons as well. That's another big one. I think they have their eyes on Simpsons. I think I can just see them salivating at
That's
that
a lot
chance.
of episodes.
It's a lot of episodes. It's a lot of streaming. That's a lot of park rides. Even though I don't know. We'll talk about that later. It's just with Disney's brand, it's kind of strange for me. I don't associate Simpsons. Like, I don't know Simpsons with Disney. It's like that feels weird. Like that doesn't feel the same. But so, are you more of a fan for that? Like in the long run, what are you?
I have to see how it plays out. I'm only a fan of it if they give the attention to all these other franchises. Because, it's like here's a good analogy. You're
last time you tried this, I don't know.
You're a stepfather and you marry
boy. And there's a 60-year-old.
What? You get into a whole new marriage as a stepfather, right? And she has all these kids. You can't.
So wait a second. No. You become the stepfather once you can't just be a stepfather alone.
No, you get married and become a stepfather.
Okay, you did say you're a stepfather and you meet this woman. I'm a stepfather.
Other way around. You meet this woman, then you become a stepfather after you get married.
How many kids does she have?
She's got like 5 kids.
Okay. Like five, give or take.
So
yeah.
you the 2 of the kids, one kid loves X-Men, the other kid loves Fantastic Four, and the rest all love Home Alone, Predator, and Aliens. Now,
Home Alone.
How was that right?
So you can't just favorite the kids that love X-Men and Fantastic Four. You got to show them all equal amounts of love.
Okay, but what if
you don't have to?
I
That's
already
not
have
how
a
it
counter
works.
analogy for you. So let's start with you're a single guy, and you meet this.
Oh, you're going
wonderful
way
woman.
back. Okay.
All right.
And you see that she has these 2 super bright children, and they're going for it. And you look in the future, and you're just like, yo, these kids are going to be successful. I'm going to get older. I don't have a retirement fund. They're going to be very successful, and they're going to take pity on me, their future stepfather, and maybe fund my retirement with their success. But then she also has 3 other kids that you're just like,
Had run-ins with the law.
They're not as bright as the other kids. So
It's like one kid loves Marvel and then one kid loves
you marry
Fantastic
into
Four.
this, you marry into this family. You're now the stepfather, and you have the 2 kids that you want to prosper. But then the other ones, you just kind of have to bring along for the ride.
Okay, let me counter that.
Wait, I got one. So you're this guy, and you meet this girl, and it's the wedding night, and you're in the bedroom. No, go ahead.
Okay, to counter that. So,
I mean, morally, that's a terrible thing to do as a stepfather.
But it happens.
But Disney,
it happens.
It happens.
You,
Disney, that's what I. That's how I.
So right now you are a single guy. You've raised 2 great kids. They turn out
Wait, so
astounding.
as this like
As a
kid,
single guy,
can I ask
you've
a
raised
quick
2
question?
kids.
For this thought experiment, did I get married to that woman, then we broke up, and then we went to Tyler's
No.
example, and then I went to yours. Like, am I
These
3
are
times divorced now?
These are revamped.
So it's
They're the same.
Parallel
okay,
universes.
single dad.
Yeah,
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 we
two
flashpointed it.
Well, I
Yeah.
just want to make sure we're on the same page. You're a single dad, and you have 2 kids from a previous
Yes.
marriage.
No, the wife died, unfortunately. It's
wow.
horrible. It's absolutely
Okay.
horrible. But you know what? After all that grief, you're a single dad. You have one kid who grew up to
Through
be.
all that grief.
you have one.
Hashtag through all that.
Where is this one going? Actually,
You have one kid who grew up to be amazing, and that is Marvel superheroes, then Disney superheroes. Then you have the other kid who grew up to be fantastic, which is Star Wars, Disney, fantastic. And you're like,
I
you know
thought you were
what?
gonna say
I, as a
Fantastic
single
Four.
parent, I did great with these 2 kids,
Uh-huh.
and I meet this wonderful woman, Mary, and she's got the 2 kids already that are X-Men and Fantastic Four. But you know what? These other 3 kids, as you said, they're a little. But you know what?
One of them's Deadpool, and it's like, what the fuck's wrong with this?
I raised 2 great kids. I can make these 3 kids into something great. You know.
Uh-huh.
But there's also some kids I think that are gonna take a liking to you a lot earlier, which I think that is the X-Men and Fox. The other ones I think that you're not gonna push them aside, but you're gonna have to spend a bit more time with them to get to know them. You're gonna have to spend a bit more time with these franchises to know how to use them. I do think those franchises that aren't superhero films, I do think those are on the back burner. I think those are, because I think their main focus is the app, and I think it is to get the Marvel Fox stuff. I think they're going to use those things on their streaming app, but I think they aren't going to be in a way like, hey, we're never going to tell someone don't make an Alien movie ever again. I think it's just we'll figure that out later. Where
Yeah.
the thing is, with Alien, you can take your time. Infinity War is coming up, and Avengers 4 is coming up. It's not like Ridley Scott's next movie about David is going to be fucking like, oh man, we're in a rush, like we got to get there. Like, these people have contracts, there's time. So that's the thing where you might need to focus on those 2 kids first because they're about to grow up and go off on their own. Where the other kid is just like playing with his shit, and it's like, well, we'll figure him out later. Like, he'll be okay if we spend
Okay.
some time in
Well,
therapy on him.
That being said, then
I thought he was gonna go, well, I got another now.
if the Predator movie does, it would still come out technically, right?
Well, I think all these would come out. I don't think Deadpool
Okay.
2 and Predator, they're gonna be like, no, just
Then-
don't put them out.
Yeah.
you know, I can
I don't
handle.
know who gets the money though, but
I can handle, you know, like between Alien and Predator movies is a lengthy amount of time, and I'm sure it would be probably that time or a little bit more between this new Predator movie and the next one, whatever would be coming out if Disney does do anything with it. I'd be willing to wait if I get this new Predator movie. I would want that.
well, you're getting it. So
You
I think
really
you're
want that
I really want that.
Yeah, I won't say too much because I've spoke on before. I'm not a big fan of the purchase. I wish it was more just a Fantastic Four move over. I'm similar to Tyler, but I'm the verse where if you asked me 5 years ago, I would have said, oh yeah, do it, because X-Men's kind of dwindling down. Hugh Jackman's near the end of his run, and Deadpool didn't seem to be happening at that point. Now with all this stuff, I was starting to think Fox to me was, other than some of the bigger movies, I was getting more excited for Fox and Marvel and Disney just because it's something different. I may end up liking the Marvel stuff more because they're more consistent, but the Fox stuff, it's you don't know what you're going to get with James Franco, Multiple Man. You know, Deadpool 2 knocked the doors off. Logan is phenomenal, and I want to see more of that. And New Mutants looks really, really cool, and I want to see more of that stuff that catches me off guard. Where Disney, I think, can always make a great Marvel movie, sometimes a perfect Marvel movie, but usually doesn't catch me off guard. That's why I like Civil War, because it caught me off guard. It was a bit more darker than I thought, and I think Black Panther's going to do the same, but I think there's more of the what you're expecting that comes at you with Marvel. You know, like Guardians, I liked Guardians more than I thought, but it's not anything different than I thought I was going to get, right? It was similar to the movie, same thing as like Ant-Man 2, like I kind of know the bar, right? With Logan, to me it was this bar like, it's going to be great or this could be really bad. I don't know which route they're going, so...
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of it. I am a fan of it in the sense of, yeah, I get to see these characters together finally for the first time. Fantastic Four, I'm not a big Fantastic Four. They're like my Superman for Marvel. I've never been a big thing in them. I find them kind of really boring and cheesy. They were big in the 60s, and maybe that's why, because it's just I've never really connected with them. I like certain characters, but I think for their fan base, I really want them to be in Marvel because
They come with some cool villains too.
they have, yeah, Doctor Doom is one of the be-all end-alls, and I think that's the biggest thing that I am excited for is the overall universe, because I think now there's these landmark storylines that they can do. Like, even when we talk about the Skrulls coming up, like, there's Skrull leaders that are in that. There's Doctor Doom, there's Galactus, there's Kang the Conqueror, so it's like, there's
Silver Surfer.
Silver Surfer, exactly. Like, there's all these storylines they can do now. They can do Avengers versus X-Men. That's what I want to talk about first, and just focus on X-Men. How do you introduce them into the MCU? Because my thing is, they're mutants, they've been around, I would feel like, for a while, and you have to play it this different of, these people are superheroes, and these people are mutants. I think I know a way like I would do it, but how do you do it? Is it retroactively like with Captain Marvel? They're like, oh, the movie's being set in the 90s, so all she was around and there's some event that takes her away and we'll figure that out later.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's something they do retroactively, or do you think it's something that, hey, for some reason these people are mutants, like there's a difference, like how do you introduce them? Because I think that's a big thing. That's a huge group
it's
of
awkward,
characters.
right? It's super
Yeah.
awkward. That is a lot of characters to introduce.
And what do you do with Magneto? Because like he was a part of a Nazi prison camp, and we're kind of past that time period where I think he might be too old to be that. Like he's a child, he's like a teenager in concentration camps, and that's part of his origin. It's kind of that point where it's like, are we? That's kind of tough now too, with how far we are there in present day.
Yeah, it's weird because the thing with X-Men is that if you want to like start a universe, I think that's probably the easiest to start, because if you look at Marvel, like, you know, before they got to Avengers, they, you know, had various movies introducing like single characters and you know, other characters on the side. But X-Men, like, you can kind of just start, and then they're like, boom, here's like, you know, X-Mansion, here's all these people, and you can kind of just start it right there. But it doesn't really work if you're playing with a universe that's already created.
Yeah,
and then so honestly, like, they could just like not. I guess it's sort of like retconning it, but if they want to just make it like up to date, and here the X-Men are living in this world, like obviously you're kind of skipping past. Well, that doesn't make sense with all these other movies you have. But they could just like accept that. People might think it's stupid, but then after a couple of years, it's like, oh, whatever. They had to do it. Do it now.
The only thing Disney's never done with Kevin Feige, he's never done anything like that, right? It's always been so pristine planning.
Yeah.
So can like the OCD of them be like, yeah, they are always there, right? That's the thing where for me it's like
it's awkward
tough
and
because how does Shield
yeah.
not know about the X? Like that's the only way I thought about it, and I'm spoiling. My thing is like, maybe they were always this underground organization, but I feel like
that doesn't really fit the X-Men, though, right?
Well, no, it doesn't. And I feel like they would have found out about these people eventually, right? Like it doesn't really like.
That's a lot of people to just.
That's Magneto. That's Beast. That's Wolverine.
Be around, yeah.
I could see it being like they've always been kind of they've been underground and whatnot, and they've always been there, but they've never had any events that had relation to superheroes.
Yeah,
and then
the mutants could be underground, but the X-Men team could be new.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I think. And then Shield's aware of the mutants, but because they're much more of a wild card than a superhero per se. Because all the superheroes, they all have some valiant, positive reason for having their powers. They all did something to earn their powers in a way. Whereas the mutants are just kind of wild cards. They have power. They just have these powers. Yeah. They didn't go through some, like Captain America, for example. They didn't have some experiment that boosted the good in them. They're just these wild cards with these powers, so they're keeping an eye on them, making sure nothing too big happens, and they're kind of handling them themselves. And then something big maybe happens, some big event, and then they have to introduce all the Avengers to the X-Men, and they either have to team up or the Avengers and X-Men have to fight, and then both end up on the same side. That's how I think would be the best way to do it.
Well, and you could lace it like retroactively in a way where the same people, like the reason why Logan is Weapon X is because Captain America was one of those projects as well with the Super Soldier Serum. So that's easily something you can already be like, oh, these were other projects that happened, and Logan, whoever's playing him, is this new one. There's certain things I think that might be the best route of not making the X-Men, like the team, a thing that's been around for a while, but making mutants a thing. Because then you could try
you can bring them together too as, you could say that S.H.I.E.L.D. was like aware of these mutants, but they, you know, they're all just kind of off on their own, so it wasn't really a big deal. Yeah. And then, you know, maybe how you introduce them in the universe is like they're kind of getting teamed up on or kind of corralled, if you will. That's kind of how X-Men goes, right? It's like they're always playing with like the race thing, or and they can do that. Like the people of S.H.I.E.L.D. and whatnot are after them, trying to hunt them down, and that's when they group up, form the X-Men as like a defense system, and that's how you introduce them. Then you can go where the fuck you want from there. You can have them team up and trading off and stuff like that. Well, but you can do that, and I don't know. It's still like no matter what you do, if you want them to be in present day without doing time travel stuff, there's always gonna be like, well, that doesn't really make sense. But then again, it's like Doctor Strange movie. Like technically, it's in the timeline, but I don't know. Shit kind of goes on that doesn't really have much relevance to the other movies. Yeah. Right, so either way, it's going to be awkward. That might be the best way to do it, and then that can work too, because you could have maybe if you want to do it like the Marvel route and have a couple solo movies of like, here's your Wolverine or your Professor X. They get like their solo movie with a couple other people. Eventually, they get the X-Men movie, and that's when you can introduce like you could have like Nick Fury in that movie or something, or like maybe a minor character. Yeah. And that's how you kind of I don't know, you kind of assimilate those two together, and then you have your full-out battle.
Well, the easiest way to, this is the thing that I have a big question too, is if they retcon or not. The way you could kind of have that link if a Scarlet Witch is still around. Technically in the comics, her and Quicksilver are Magneto's kids. And to me, that's the biggest thing where they say that, because in the Avengers 2 movie, they said that they were just like, I can't remember, experiments
They're
or something.
orphans.
Yeah, they're,
and who,
they saw their
volunteered
parents
to be
die.
experimented.
Yeah, and that's the thing where it's like, okay, so they kind of, but maybe they could say something like, oh, because they have this gene, we could expand upon that. And I think, take the time travel thing out, because time travel, they could easily say, we're time travel. It's like, okay, you can just fold in, but if you take that out, I think that, I lost my thought.
Time travel, I guess you could say, it's kind of opening up a can of worms. You kind of open yourself up, and it's like, I don't know, maybe not the most creative way to introduce like new characters, because you're kind of just like, we're breaking the rules, we can do whatever the fuck we want, because time travel. Right?
I remember what I was gonna say is, I think if you do an Avengers and versus X-Men movie, which I don't know if they'll call it the X-Men, but I think that's your next biggest like Civil War event, because you could have the easiest thing, like we talk about, like the race card always, of these, you could make it that these guys are superheroes, they're loved by the world, but then you have mutants who are like considered freaks, and maybe they are being rounded up and hunted. And that to me is the easiest thing. That's always been the problem between superheroes and mutants, is like, how come we can't be viewed the same as these people? You know, that guy turns big and green, but because it's science, it's fine. But I'm some beast. It's like, well, I hate you.
I hate you.
And that's the other thing I'll pose. And Taylor, I'll start with you. Dylan was asked this. What is the way you build up to the X-Men? Do you do X-Men the movie? Do you do solo movies, bring them together? Or do you pull Black Panther, Spider-Man, where you introduce the X-Men first and then go their separate route? Well, how would you introduce them as far as movie-wise?
Oh, you're asking me first.
I did, because you've been quiet for a while, so I thought I'd throw this question to you first.
You
never butt in, Taylor. Taylor's such a kind, calm man. He just
Too kind.
Yeah. Yeah, right, the hand for
the hands.
Do I need to come back to you, actually?
No. I think I got one. Okay, so
I got one.
I definitely, I like the trend of like, oh, we got these major movies and we just sneak in like a character here, like, like here's your Spider-Man, here's your Black Panther.
Oh, that's illegal in some states.
But I feel like with X-Men, I think that they should totally just build it up where they have like, oh, here's your Jean Grey, here's your Cyclops, Professor X, and have them do like a couple of their own movies with like characters joining them as well, and then lead up to like X-Men, and then eventually like do like Avengers 5 X-Men underneath or something like
Here's
that.
my counter.
Avengers 5 X-Men.
Here's my counter.
Wild title.
Like, we always have counters to Taylor's argument.
Avengers
Mine's a
5
counter.
X-Men versus Fantastic Four.
Mine's a counters to Dylan's as well.
But where are the Avengers?
We've never gone to Black Widow movie. There's no way we're gonna fucking Jean Grey solo movie. There's no way we're gonna Professor X solo movie. I think they'll, other than maybe Logan, I think all of them, I think they'll start right X-Men the movie, and I think they'll do the exact same thing they did with Guardians, and then eventually bring them together. I don't think they'll do a backdoor thing. I think, backdoor, a big backdoor. I think X-Men are still big enough, that title, if it's a new cast, hot young people, and it's like, to me, that's actually the most exciting thing about the purchases. I'm kind of wavered on the Wolverine and Deadpool part, but to see Kevin Feige's and Marvel, the MCU's X-Men, I think is going to be great, because they do such a good job with characters and story arcs. To see a Cyclops and a Jean and to get these real, like, realized relationship and arcs that we haven't really gone from all of the movies. Sometimes we get close, but usually it's always about, like, Logan's arc, kind of Cyclops. He's the leader of the X-Men. In X-Men 2 and 3, he's in it for less than 10 minutes. So I was like, there's something wrong there. So I feel like that wouldn't happen in this case. So I feel like, personally, they start with an X-Men 1, X-Men 2, and if people get big, they reverse. But I don't think they'll do Jean Grey the movie, because they've never done Black Widow the movie, right? Like, I feel like Marvel's very calculated with what they do. There's another group that I feel like will get that property, and we'll talk about in a second, but I feel like X-Men gets X-Men, and then they figure it out.
In regards to like your earlier topic where like how do they bring in the X-Men, I feel 100% like they could easily just continue on with their Marvel movies and then just drop like, oh, here's what's Sam Jackson's name? Nick Fury, yeah.
Sam Jackson.
Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson, actually.
So Nick Fury just walks into Tony Stark and is like, You guys didn't think you were the only team, did you? And shows them all these clips of
Can't wait for that line.
He didn't
shows
think of
them
that all
like
night.
the X-Men or whatever operating and stuff.
I feel like Batman vs Superman
Yeah, we got webcam footage of
Oh, God,
Wolverine
real
grocery
sad about
shopping.
that. Oh,
I don't want that.
I don't know. I see what you're meaning though, like end credit way. I don't know if
Well, like
yeah.
it would be much more badass than how I explained it.
I think
You can't get much more badass than Samuel L. So it's hard to try and copy them. Man.
Now here's my pitch.
I love these
for,
counters.
Disney here. You know, it's like an
So your stepfather and
yeah. So basically, I think what they should do. I think they do start with as a just one big X-Men movie. I think
you know what it's
I
called?
think that's core to the X-Men.
100%. This is the title. Marvel's X-Men. 100%. Because they want to throw that, so you know this is different. That's
Disney's
like,
X-Men.
yeah, even more Disney, Star Wars
Mickey
is
Mouse's X-Men.
Yeah.
Walt Disney Senior's X-Men. Yeah.
So I think the best way to kind of in a way introduce it and then is through just like end credit scenes. I think a really cool one would be say like Nick Fury going to talk to one.
It's always Nick Fury.
I think he's
We
the
think
best
you can
character.
watch him die. Watch him die.
I just had a thought. It literally just overlapped everything else I was thinking about this, and I just had this one thought now, and it's like a picture of Nick Fury. And it's like very close in on like
His
it
iPad?
just shows him walking up to a door, and he knocks on the door, and then after he knocks on it, it slowly zooms out, and you see that it's Professor Xavier's
And
mansion.
you don't see the actor because they haven't cast him
No.
yet. So.
Because I think they need to do just like a whole new timeline.
Yeah.
Because they're pretty much going to remake the X-Men.
Mhm.
Like, they're going to recreate the formation of the team. And
So, well, this was my second question was coming up. You say that, but then you're also in the camp that you think they should bring Hugh Jackman back. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You either got to do the full reboot or you can't bring Jackman back.
But they were
So what do you
fucking-
think?
but
I
X-Men
think
was fucking
Jackman's a
time
wild
travel,
card.
so you
What?
could like have.
No,
some
but let's say
people-
like we said, take time travel out because we say, oh, that's
But
easy
X-Men,
excuse.
like they were doing that with like
Take
that
them,
Wolverine.
take them both out though. No time travel right now. Just say how do they? Because what do you prefer? Do you prefer the fully rebooted or do you prefer? Because I feel like if Jackman comes in, they have to take some of that baggage with them of like Jean, I killed Jean, and there's a Deadpool in my world. Like I feel like maybe they could
What
just
if that
ignore
stuff
it.
just hasn't happened yet then?
Oh boy.
Wow.
I think they're like no deal. We don't want to make X3 or X-Men Origins or Apocalypse. That means Apocalypse is gonna happen in the MCU.
Well, it could just not happen.
But-
Does it have to?
I guess
they
not,
could
no.
literally do anything they want with the timeline now. Why do they have to stay so true to the
I'm
previous
with you.
movies?
I just
think-
go with what I feel like I've seen so far that they'll be like, we have to. So do you think, would you be fine with entire new cast, but Hugh Jackman is still Wolverine?
I wouldn't be like super upset with that, but I'd also be I'm open to them having a new cast and just no Hugh Jackman, having a different Wolverine. But I want that like a long ways down the road. So I don't think they should introduce X-Men with Avengers for like 5 to 10 years even.
I don't think because I was talking about this film too. When they bought Star Wars, it was like 3.5 years till Force Awakens got out. I think you don't see this take place till 4 or 5 years in that time frame because they gotta find directors, writers, the whole thing. And now that's the thing that maybe they've probably they've no longer than us have, but I guarantee you they have a sort of plan that still had to do with no X-Men, right? It was the same way that Black Panther was originally supposed to come out when Homecoming was like this past summer, but when they got Spider-Man, they shift everything down. So I think it would be the same thing where they had an idea, but now they have to hopefully not wedge things in, but change course
I
of
can
it.
see them having just someone on staff or probably like a team even. The like in the past couple of years even like, hey, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, we're trying to acquire this content.
Yeah.
Let's make a plan for when we do get it, and let's have
I
a
bet
plan.
they did.
Yeah, they probably have
Probably
already
been
like
back
this
5
huge
years.
Plan
plan.
C, Plan
So they
X,
probably have all these
Plan-
plans for whether they get them or not. And
Plan
they could just
DC.
kinda-
That's coming sometime.
When we get Batman, holy fuck, guys, just you wait. We're gonna kill them all.
They acquire DC.
They just kill off all their
They
characters.
acquire DC 2 years later, like the biggest movie ever. All DC characters in the same movie, and they all just die.
Every movie,
Except for-
every DC movie, so you have like Batman, you have Superman, everyone is just them dying to another Marvel character.
Except for Flash.
Even like Hawkeye Hawkeye just like kills Superman or something somehow. It's like, what? How does that happen?
Except for Flash, because they're like, oh, he's really quippy. We'll keep him.
Yeah.
He'll fit right in.
They
We
just-
need a
they-
replacement for
They kill off
Quicksilver.
Quicksilver.
Yeah, we hated Quicksilver.
Flash and Quicksilver buddy cop
Yeah.
movie.
So, Dylan, how do you feel on the reboot versus the bringing in some old baggage from the X-Men stuff? Which, honestly,
Yeah.
let's just break bones. It's down to, does Hugh Jackman come back or not?
Yeah.
And a percentage for
I-
all of you as well.
Hey, I would love to see Hugh Jackman in the Avengers for sure, but I'm totally fine with him not, just because Logan is like the perfect ending to a character,
Yeah.
and we talked about this on length on the review of how much of a like beautiful send off it is for the character.
Because you don't even want
17
him
years
or
of
Hugh
legacy.
Jackman in Deadpool 2. You're like, that's it, he's done, right? That's you.
What's that, sir?
You said you don't even want him or Hugh Jackman in Deadpool 2. You want it to
No,
stay
yeah.
with-
Yeah, I would be more okay with him coming back for Avengers as opposed to
Yeah.
Deadpool 2 for
Because
sure.
it's like, to me that's like once in a lifetime, like we never thought this would happen, right? Where Deadpool
Yeah.
2, it's like, oh, they could have done it at any point. Where this, like, he even said in the interview that was released, he said for the 17 years he was like waiting for it to happen. And of course it does happen when it's like, oh, like, if
Right
this
after
happened, right,
Logan, yeah.
imagine if it would have been like Avengers and then they go and do Logan. It would have been perfect, but
Mhm.
yeah, he's kind of sitting there,
He's kind of sitting there.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think they really should just like recast everyone. Unfortunately, well, I guess it's not unfortunate. I think they could like
Except Mystique.
Mystique. She'll probably find her way into it.
Oh, Jennifer Lawrence, 100. That's
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Though, do they even then like? So Disney is very smart. I do think I'm in the camp that I think they reboot everybody.
Yeah.
I think Jackman. For me, I'm gonna ask you guys to present. I actually think it's a 1% Jackman comes back. I don't think it's a Jackman thing. Even though in the interview you did kind of sound like he was done. I still feel like if they backed up a truck of money and said, hey, for one Avengers movie, we'll kill it. My idea was they bring in Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, right? He comes in, he does 1 to 2 Avengers movie. It's like the Infinity War, where it's a 2-part, right? So you have, people have already said, imagine if Avengers Infinity War, the end credit scene was Hugh Jackman. The crowd would lose their mind. Like, everybody would lose their mind. And then my idea is, you have those 2 movies, you do some time travel shenanigans, some shenanigans. He ends up coming back Wolverine, but it is a younger actor as Wolverine, and none of that's happened for that character, so it's all new to him. But you still got the pleasure of seeing Hugh Jackman and Downey, Hugh Jackman and Chris Evans. That's my idea. I wish that if they said, hey, for the one time we're gonna like play with some baggage and continuity, we'll do it just for Jackman. Because for me, Disney's all about money. I don't know how no executive is like, why don't we have that poster, that same Civil War poster, but it's Downey and it's Hugh Jackman. That is $2 billion right there. And even then, we're joking, but Jennifer Lawrence, how do they not look at her and be like, hey, we'd love Jennifer Lawrence to stick around. She's a mega star in the world. That's the thing. It's they could find a way to bring in some of those people. Like, for me, I'm staying on this, like, to me, that's the perfect way you could bring in Fassbender too with time travel. I know now we're injecting time travel because you could say he was in the concentration camp, but he's just younger now because of time travel, right? And he's sped up because there's no way Magneto's origins can stay the same if he is in 2016. It doesn't make, or 2018. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't match up timeline unless he's like 90. Which sure, I guess you can go at that point just get Ian McKellen again to do it, but. If they did mess with time travel, bring in McAvoy, bring in Fassbender. Like, same thing, I want to see Fassbender against these people. So I'm not opposed to it if there's a smart way to do it. Because, like, I think we as fans would be like you said earlier, like, if it's good, we just like, oh, whatever, screw it, like, sure, they're in here. But I do think if I have to bet a house on it, they just look at it and they go, no, let's just start over and let's do our own thing. Because it's like, it's probably easier, right? It's probably... You know,
I think one thing you have to keep in mind too is like how soon do they want to get the X-Men in here? Because if they want them in like right away, I don't think there's any way they can do it without it being quite muddy.
Yeah.
But if they just want to like start sprinkling it in like the next like few years, and then your X-Men movie, like full X-Men movie, doesn't come out for like 7 years or something like that, at that point it might feel like it fits in perfectly. But I think it might be better to just take the hit and say like, oh, okay, maybe this doesn't fit, maybe it's like kind of awkward, maybe there's. Maybe a couple characters' backstories don't really make a whole lot of sense, but whatever. We're just going to start here, and we're dealing with the cards. We're playing with the cards we're dealt.
Well, the thing that puts us at a disadvantage is the only Phase 4 movie they've announced is a Spider-Man Homecoming sequel. Other than that, they're all untitled Marvel movies. So we couldn't even be like, okay, so Black Panther will... Like, I know Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Ant-Man, I think those guys are safe because they're new. but it's like we can't be like, oh, there'll be an Iron Man 4 here, or we can't even kind of guess like, oh, they're heading in this direction. Usually with the slate, you could see, okay, this is what they could do, this is where they could start filling in. We won't know until Avengers 4 because we don't know who's surviving. So obviously they know, but I think for us making predictions, that's where it's hard to go. Would they make this as quickly as possible? Because they did with Spider-Man. They got Spider-Man and right away they put him in and they pushed the whole slate back, right? So they might do that. I agree with you. I think it's better to sprinkle it in and wait and just do the same thing as Guardians. Build towards a big meeting of, even if it's just like, I don't know, some actor X as Wolverine and Chris Evans, you know.
Yeah.
Spend enough time with those X-Men for us to care, because you don't want to run the risk of just throwing in a new X-Men, like a new Wolverine with all these new characters and people maybe not liking him. That's my one hang up about the Jackman thing is too, like, you look at some of the really popular people, it usually seems like the person that comes after gets a lot of flack. Like, people... older fans might get this, but Christopher Reeve and then there's Brandon Roth. Brandon Roth was not fair as Superman. Heath Ledger to Jared Leto. There's many instances where the next guy, it's always like the next guy kind of drops the ball and then it's the guy after. And that's the thing with the Wolverine thing they got to be tricky with, because they usually do great casting, so I don't know why I'm really bringing it up, but there is a thing that they need to build up their X-Men before a crossover. I think if they do a crossover right away, it doesn't have that impact of what even Guardians will in Infinity War, like seeing Rocket and Hulk or Drax and Iron Man. You know, like you gotta, even though Guardians have only had 2 movies, it feels like a long time.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because the thing with Wolverine, Hugh Jackman is, no matter how long you wait, whether it's like you have another Wolverine in 3 years from now or something, or you have one in like 15 years, like either way, people are probably going to be like opposed to it.
They're ready to judge.
And what if the best path is to have one out like right now, people don't like him, but then boom, you recast again in like another 10 years, and now like, you know, people are kind of more disconnected from Jackman at that point, or like, oh, that was so long ago, we're ready for like a new Wolverine. I don't know.
I wonder if a good testing water for them is going to be Han Solo, to see how people react to a new young guy. Because what happens if that same thing that comes out? I honestly wonder if that will play a big role. Because what if it came out and everyone's like, this is not Han... Well, you're talking about this in the car. Like, I think that's going to make or break Han Solo's that first trailer. And if you see like that feels like Han Solo, great. But if you're like, this guy doesn't have it, feels wrong... I wonder if it gets a negative reaction if they go, you know what, maybe let's lean back into the Jackman thing a little bit and let's like bring him along and just say, hey, he's going to be Wolverine, and just ignore that stuff. You know, like ignore, like we're not even going to talk about any X-Men, you're the only one. And then they could even pass it off, because they're already starting to pass it off to people in Marvel like you have. They laid the groundwork for Cap. They could do X-23. It wouldn't be that actress, unfortunately, but they could do their version of a younger him handing the mantle down to a different person. So I think
that's very risky.
What to handle
I was thinking that would actually be really cool if like they had Wolverine and Hugh Jackman as one movie, and then X-23 took over Hugh Jackman Wolverine's role.
In the comics, she is Wolverine X-Men now. So they could.
So she could very well take over his role, and then they just don't touch Wolverine for 15, 20 years until.
And he can still be young because he doesn't age. And we do know that they do just recast like nothing. They recasted the Hulk, who was one of the main Avengers. So they could have a world where let's do the Jackman thing, and then in a while let's recast and just bring him back because he doesn't age, right? So just say he's younger, something happened to him. So I think that's a big question. Taylor, do you have anything to add? Because you've been a little quiet over there.
I think, you know, as far as bringing over these original X-Men characters, I don't like the idea of it.
No. Such a party poop. No.
I think when you said it at the beginning, Marvel's X-Men, that just says it all right there. You know, new characters. I think at this point Disney is very good at, like with Star Wars. Yes, they had some nods to like even prequels and the originals. Yes, with their characters, but they bring in these fresh new characters to make them into main.
Their focus seems to be on Rey, Finn, and Poe, and Kylo now.
Yeah, so you know, like everyone out. Phase everyone else out. So I think, you know, as cool as it would be to bring in Logan, and yes, they could bring him in for like a movie or two, then kill him off just to introduce like a new younger Logan or something like that. I feel like, you know, it just falls right back to that thing, Marvel's X-Men.
Marvel's X-Men plus Hugh Jackman.
Marvel's and
versus Hugh Jackman.
At the end of the day, I think, Hugh Jackman, as cool as that would be, I would much rather see Hugh Jackman pop up in Deadpool 2 at this point. I think, his story is done. Why even consider bringing him back? Yes, I know that there's billions of dollars in it, but I feel like Disney plays smarter than that.
But his story's not done if they have all the Avengers. Though,
Yeah,
right? It could be. There's room for more stories.
Take the money in business. Do you not want to see that as a fan either? You don't want to see Hugh Jackman with that cast of Avengers. You don't even want to see the interactions. I think that's the biggest thing.
That
If you want to
ship
see,
has sailed. It is gone way down. It's buried underneath the ground, resting in peace next to Logan. So.
You may feel that way now, but I think you could have your mind changed by like a trailer or a post-credit scene.
a post-credit scene of just those claws coming out and it being, or like because in Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos, Wolverine comes with them to space to fight, and just imagine when Thanos is fucking up all these people, and you just hear those claws, and he turns around, and Jackman's there, and they have no idea who this fucking guy is.
He's just in fucking space with that.
He's in space, and then imagine he runs up and Thanos just kills him, and that's it. It's like, oh, but that could be your window to him bringing in the.
What if Thanos just like summons him as like his
destroyer?
That would be sick.
His relic from another.
Just throw an X-Men at them.
All the old characters. Canon. They're there. Imagine that. You know how aliens come down. It's like Jackman. Like he doesn't speak. He's just like.
They need to do that.
Like you don't want to see.
So funny.
You don't want to see Hugh Jackman versus the Hulk. Like these.
Like imagine if Thanos just like picks up a handful of Fantastic Four and just throws them all at the Avengers.
Every single member.
Yeah.
I think the reason why I always wanted is because as a kid you would always talk about like, man, I would have loved seeing Batman and Superman, like, and then we saw that. But like so many times when you there's so many times in the past, like for me, I'm always being like, man, I really want them Clone Saga. I want Clone Saga, the Spider-Man movie where they could do Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, and Tom Holland. And it's like I don't think they'll do it, but this is one of these cases where this is something that I would love them to do, and they could do it. There's a small window of time where they could do it, where if they regret it, or if they cast Wolverine and it goes bad, Hugh Jackman will age, and it will go away eventually. And who knows, people will pass away. That's the thing where it's like, for me, it's like, do they not take that one shot just for that? Even if it's one movie, just be like, let's just do it. Let's do it. Let's get the huge paycheck. Let's make the fans happy. Because, yeah, I get a paycheck, but the fans are also happy. That is the most fan service thing in the world to announce Hugh Jackman's coming back. And people would be excited. Those interviews, those press junkets, those Comic-Cons, like, the standoffs, like, would be so exciting as a fan.
Disney, as powerful as it is, they could secretly cover the fact that we have a new person playing, or we are going to reveal who Wolverine is. We have a new person that's going to be playing it, and they could just be pumping it up, and they could make
Ben Affleck.
And
then every year he's like, I don't know if I'm going to be Wolverine anymore.
They could make their own huge new hit Wolverine, like celebrity. Like literally, I don't see Disney being the kind of group where like, oh, we have this small window, we can get such good press, fan service, billions of dollars if we act now in this small window. I feel
they didn't do that exactly, but they did that with Spider-Man. They acted really fast. They didn't bring Garfield back, but I don't think Garfield had the same fan attachment that Jackman does. Here's my thing, and because they asked this, what happens if that new Wolverine comes out and it bombs? Like, that's the only worry of, like, it's the whole thing where like, he doesn't feel like it. They got Keanu Reeves, and it's like, this isn't working. Like, what do you do?
And you kind of have to nail it on the first movie of Wolverine.
That's why I think they go, even though we're going to do a fan cast and we're going to pick, like, people that won't get cast, I honestly think they'll go with a no-name person or someone really new that we have no... Like Han Solo.
Just destroy their career.
Yeah.
I was Wolverine.
Yeah. But like,
on the streets.
I think that's what they do, because if they do an X-Men, a big team, it's a big enough character that they can write off. Like, it's, like, Chris Evans to me was not anyone huge at the time. Same as Chris Hemsworth. Yeah. Like, those people were smaller. So I think they would go a no-name route. But what do you do?
What if they cast Travis Snell as Wolverine?
I am mad that this is happening. Because I always thought I had time to get ready to be Wolverine. Because this is going to happen for 20 years. I'm short. Wolverine's supposed to be my height. He's supposed to be short. He's like 5'2". I'm Canadian. I could definitely put on the pounds. Hugh Jackman is complaining like, I eat
Wait,
so
what does
much
the Canadian have to do with it?
Wolverine's Canadian.
Oh, okay. I didn't
No,
know.
Wolf, the character Wolverine is Canadian, so he's not. I'm shorter. I can put on the pounds. All I need is a fake beard. I can't grow facial hair. So, but that's the only thing that worries me with this. I'm like, I'm never gonna get my shot.
it on. What can go wrong?
Great,
Oh,
yeah. What could go wrong? But what do you do with the casting? Do you wait? Do you do it right away? Do you, like Dylan said, do a really extended long time, like wait 10 years? Like, because this is a big role they got to nail. And they did it with Spider-Man. I'll give them credit. But like I said, I don't think anybody felt Tobey or Andrew were the perfect Spider-Man. I think they were like, oh, he's good.
I feel Spider-Man isn't really attached to like a whole group. I feel like so when you incorporate him into the movie like Civil War, I think it's a lot easier to like, oh, you know, wow, we got him in Civil War and we're getting more access to make even put on a movie. Yeah, easily we'll shuffle that down because it's Spider-Man. He doesn't have this whole group he's connected to. It's just black and white. It's basic. They can throw him in there.
Not as much impact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when it comes to X-Men and it's a much larger universe, I feel like, you know, the right thing to do, wait like 5 years, wait a little bit longer even, not too long, but long enough.
20 years.
You don't want
When they're
to
bombing.
40 years.
you don't want to lose that anticipation of when when they're gonna introduce the X-Men, because you need, it's like you said, like you have to have that golden egg for the next 10 years to keep your Marvel super movies going.
Phase 6.
Phase 6, yeah. So I think that you need
Phase X?
to.
They're planning this shit. They like, that's just crazy. That you know they're looking at Phase 6. We got planned out. Like, okay, let's work on DC. Let's start talking.
Feige's on like phase 12, dude.
They said, remember
He's
they
probably just doing cocaine all night, just planning out everything.
They got-
he just has spreadsheets. He has like a whole mansion just filled with plans written all over the wall.
I'd love to see it too, but they've said
I'd
they
love
have
to
20
do that.
movies planned. So, and some people have speculated that maybe that's why they've been so secretive about Phase 4 because of these plans. Because what happens if Avengers 4 was Avengers 4 : it won't be this, but : Fantastic Four : X-Men. It won't be, I think 100%, but something that would spoil the timeline, you know? What happened if they like retroactively they did a reverse where instead of putting the X-Men in their timeline, they just put the MCU into the X-Men timeline or the Fantastic Four timeline?
That'd be no god.
Do we have anything more
I
to
don't
add
want to
on?
picture that.
Do we have
Fantastic
anything to add
Four.
on X-Men?
I had something before I lost my
Okay,
train
if
of
it
thought.
comes up, let's talk about Fantastic Four because we haven't talked about them, and I really want to talk about them. They've had three movies that were critically panned. The last one being the most critically panned. The first one did okay back in the day, but if you watch it now, it's a very dated, it's a very poor movie. So this is to me, and I guess I'll start to me the most similar to Spider-Man, and I think they get the Spider-Man Black Panther treatment where they are in like whatever Avengers The Day Is Long, and it's like and
That does not fit.
I feel like that is some obscure comic book reference, but I don't get it.
Oh, we'll find out. No, and then you
What? I do want to find out.
you work them. It's not. At least I maybe subconsciously it is, but I think it's like Black Panther, Spider-Man. You work them into a movie, and then they do their own. I don't think even putting Marvel's Fantastic Four, I don't think it gets the stink off it. If you've seen the last movie, you know. I think it's the same way. I think they were in a much better situation with the Spider-Man movies opposed to Fantastic Four movies. So if they didn't even introduce Spider-Man in his own solo movie, I don't think there's a shot Fantastic Four does. And you guys can answer that. And also, do they do the same? How do they introduce them? Is it the same thing? Is it retroactive, or is it currently that they've always been around? Those are my questions.
Taylor, what do you think?
I don't know, that stupid scene of Nick Fury
In a
saying, we got another teams.
How is it?
They just do that to introduce both of them. It's the same scene.
This might be crazy wacky, but they
Crazy
talk about-
wacky.
Now, they completely ignore all the other Fantastic Four movies and stuff.
I don't think they're gonna bring
it.
it.
But they go with Doctor Strange.
Strange, too.
Does some weird things with the Time Stone, and from a different timeline, Earth has a different set of heroes
With Hugh
with the
Jackman.
Fantastic Four and Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Could happen.
And
This is
Robert Downey.
all involved.
playing Professor X.
Yeah.
And then so then you just bring them in from another timeline, and they like their Earth was destroyed or something, and then they come into this timeline to help us stop the Earth from just being destroyed by the same threat, because they only had the Fantastic Four. They weren't strong enough, but then teamed up with the Avengers.
That's a wild. That
And
is a
then
crazy wild.
The
idea.
Silver Surfer is some cosmic being, so they don't really need some
He's just big
explanation
surfing
for
through the
him.
universe.
They don't need some weird way to bring him in. He just comes in from
Yeah, he's
the
he's a
cosmos,
weirdo.
and he's like,
Cruising,
your Earth's in
cosmic
danger.
swag.
I'm gonna do this thing because I'm the Silver Surfer.
Taylor, if you're opposing, you're
No, I just think I feel like
That's
you know,
like
That's just like a way out there idea I had.
That's your pitch.
Yeah, that's my pitch.
I feel like the Avengers wouldn't want their help if they're like, oh, you guys let your Earth get destroyed. We can handle it without you guys.
I think the way they pitch it is, hey, we know what's coming your way. We know either it's Doctor Doom or Galactus. We know and you need us. Whether I don't know if it's their whole entire Earth destroyed. I think they just come at new. Like I don't think they've been around for
they
a while.
could even just like redo their origin stories.
I think
honestly.
I think they do this.
Like it's a very easy one, not all baggage.
I don't think they redo it. I think they do the Spider-Man thing where they don't even mention the origin. It's just these guys were astronauts. They went up. They got these powers, and they're here. It's in 3 lines, and that's it. I don't think you hear anything about like Uncle Ben, like Spider-Man. I lost an uncle named Ben, and we went to the space. No, I think they're just like they're the Fantastic Four.
Here's a wacky idea.
Oh.
So
As opposed to
All
a
right.
wacky, crazy idea.
yeah, it is just wacky. It actually,
should be
honestly,
more
it could be a
tame.
little bit crazier. It could be a little bit crazier.
Okay.
So
What's the idea?
you got these astronauts.
They have
Okay.
stepfathers.
They all go into their space thing,
Yeah.
and then
They do their space thing.
they get the radiation and they have their origins, and this isn't touched on at all. And then
Wait, what?
next thing you know,
So he's saying all that happened off screen.
so that all happened off screen, and so
So it didn't
Disney
really happen.
buys Fox,
Mhm.
and immediately after buying Fox, they start shooting footage for the second instance of Infinity War.
Okay.
And then
so
in the
Avengers 4.
yeah, so Avengers 4,
Okay.
and then all of a sudden, all the Avengers go into space, and these astronauts are also in space in the same place that they're fighting Thanos.
Mm.
And so they're already introduced in Avengers 4. They just get it right out of the way,
It's pretty good.
right away.
I think you
into
have.
the universe.
I think you just have Guardians of the Galaxy versus Fantastic Four. You know, they're just out there exploring some planets. Guardians cruise on
They're
by.
not even-
They stop by. And they just kind of fight each other, and then they become friends. And
Fantastic
they fight
Four,
Galactus
the
and,
Silver
and
Surfer
Silver
comes in.
Surfer on his cosmic swag kills
Yeah.
Groot or something. I don't know.
Wow.
Yikes.
That's a big blow.
Your idea, I think that's actually a really, really cool idea.
Thank you.
That's, I meant Tyler. I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. It was a shit idea.
I think like the Avengers or whatever. Like there's the team are like great. What are their names? Mr. Fantastic and all them.
Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, the
Human
Torch.
Oh, Richard Reed, Sue
Yeah.
Storm, Johnny
Thing.
Storm, and Ben Grimes.
So I feel like they bring those people up.
And
Like,
Victor
they
Von
need,
Doom.
they need their help in space.
Why did you need their names to be named off?
Just so people know.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
people like
For the
"Mr.
fans.
Fantastic. Who's that?
And Victor
But,
Von Doom is his real name. He didn't even change
Doctor
that.
Doom?
Yeah, it's Victor Von Doom.
Victor V.
Yeah, so it's a proper title. He's a doctor.
I
And
guess.
his last name is Doom.
It's just a
Is that-
classic '60s comic name. I don't know how they make that. I don't know how they make Victor Doom work in the real world, but we'll find out.
I don't know, you
I
just
wanna
gotta
see
throw
it.
the word Doom
I
in
want-
there.
I don't- honestly,
It's such a menace.
The biggest thing for me is just Doctor Doom being in the MCU.
They should.
Well, it's like Tolkien. It's like he's, he made languages and all these crazy names, but then he just called it Mount Doom because, I don't know, why not?
Yeah,
It
I
has
guess.
a certain appeal to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you got the astronauts in space, like
Mm-hmm.
you said, with the Avengers all fighting Thanos, and then some event happens, and they go topsy-turvy back down to Earth, and then,
Topsy-turvy.
they get their powers. I think that would be a great way to kick off Fantastic Four as their origin or something
Or
like
they
that.
just reshoot every movie from beforehand, but add like scenes with those characters.
I
in
don't
them.
think so.
You could CGI that into the back.
Oh,
or
George
something.
Lucas special editions.
Yes.
Okay, so this is what I'll ask you. Who do we see first as far as, not even see, but who are we hinted towards? What path are we going on first? Fantastic Four or X-Men?
Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four.
It's much easier to introduce those guys for sure.
I
I think we could. I think it's a.
honestly,
honestly, I don't-
X-Men to be contradictive. I think they'll go to all
I honestly
Fantastic
wouldn't be
Four.
surprised if they just didn't do Fantastic Four for like a while because who cares? Who gives a shit about Fantastic Four?
They even
I don't
go
think
back
there's like
after
any
Hugh Jackman.
I don't think there's much hype for the Fantastic Four because I think your sentiment, if you're a comic fan, you don't really like them. I
There
don't
are
really like
hardcore
them.
fans
I
that
think it's
love
Well,
exciting
of course,
though,
there's
that
always
it's
going to be
like-
hardcore fans for anything
I
that
think
still
for-
exists, but I don't think people are chomping at the bit for Fantastic Four. You know, people would much rather prefer an X-Men movie.
The thing is, I feel like a lot
More
of the
people
people who even aren't a fan of the Fantastic Four, they know that the previous movies have been flops.
They know their
And-
memes now.
Yeah, they know the memes. They've been on the internet, and so I like, for me example, I never even
example.
watched the
newest
newest
one?
one.
Oh, you
I've
should.
never
It's
seen
great.
it. I've never
Fantastic.
seen it. I don't
You
really.
don't need to watch it.
You need
Yeah,
to watch it.
It's
I would
amazing
watch
not
it
to
on like
watch
2
it.
times speed and just be
And
done with it.
so I think for people will be excited that such a successful franchise now has possession of this, and to see what they can do with good people behind it.
Yeah.
And good ideas. And
I think
But don't you think if
Yes.
you're like a more casual fan, like obviously we'll go see it either
Well,
way.
yeah.
But I think a casual fan would go see like whatever other, because Marvel's gonna have like 3 movies every year at least, or there might be like an X-Men movie at the same time, or there's also DC movies. You know, are they gonna go see Fantastic Four because Disney has it, or are they gonna be like, I'll skip this
honestly,
one and
if
watch
they
it
put
later?
Marvel in there, they're
I think
very
if,
likely.
I think if people went to see Ant-Man, they'll give Fantastic Four
Yeah.
another chance. I
And
think
plus,
the fact
if
that they made the
those-
movie Ant-Man successful is like, this guy can't really
And I
strike
think
out.
the fact that even casual people, they wouldn't be caring enough to hate on Fantastic Four from what's happened before.
Plus, maybe not a lot of people have seen that last movie.
That's true.
It's
It's
the Wii U
there's
versus
probably a
Switch
solid chance that a
title.
lot of people forgot that movie existed.
Yeah.
I guess another question for Fantastic Four is where do they go with casting? Because the recent movie was all a bunch of new up and comers, and they're good. I mean, you seem to think they're good, so
They're all great actors.
Right,
Just
but-
on that movie.
But the thing is, like, I didn't know who any of them were going into that movie, right? And so, like, what do? Do you go with like a group of new people like that, young people that people don't really know, or if you're trying to like get people hyped on Fantastic Four again, do you need to get people that are well known,
I
more
think you-
famous people,
I
or at
think-
least 1 or 2 of the group?
I think you get big stars if you look at Ant-Man. They cast Paul Rudd. Who, Paul Rudd's not the biggest A-list, like he's A-list celebrity, but he's not like Brad Pitt. But he's a name.
He's got fans, yeah.
Something that we talked about old MCU. Okay, Edward Norton, fine, he had a name, but to me, he's not. He doesn't scream like huge hit. It just has a fan base. Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, and Downey was a huge risk at that point. He was off the map. He was doing fucking whatever that Tim Allen dog movie was, where he turns into a dog as well. Like came off his drug bender. He was a no name anymore. So those first casting were all smaller people. I'm trying to think after that. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, meh. Scarlet Jo, I'll give them that. She's a bigger star, but she's bigger now. Samuel Jackson, but he wasn't leading a movie. Who was after that? Tom Holland was nobody, but it's Spider-Man. So it's like, now, other than Tom Holland, you had Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, bigger name. You had Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, a big name. And now, Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. She won an Academy Award last year. Big name. They have been much more in that pattern now, because I think it's honestly because they have the money.
Yeah.
And they're like, we can shell that. I think they do a mix. I think Reed and Sue are your big stars, and then I think The Thing, you get a big star for the voice, because maybe they'll do mocap, but I doubt it. With Rocket, they do mocap, but then Bradley Cooper just comes in and does the voice. So I think you get a big voice for The Thing, and Johnny Storm is your like hot young up and
The
coming.
thing you get The Rock.
you could like just do it, but I think I don't know
Fuck yeah.
when we do
Just got a
Fantastic.
bunch of rocks. Yeah.
I don't know when we do Fantastic Four. This may be because we're doing a draft, so I don't want to give away one of my picks, but I maybe will. So I feel like no one should pick this, but like I feel like someone.
Steal it.
I have backups just in case. Someone like a George Clooney for Mr. Fantastic. Someone that's really, maybe his age, I think he's a bit too old, but someone of that stature who brings...
Tom Hanks.
Thanks.
I think he's sitting a bit too old, but I think
that's
whoever is like the bigger names under 40, even maybe Brad Pitt because he's a
Tom
bit younger,
Cruise.
or Matt Damon. Well, I guess Matt Damon was Loki. Tom Cruise
Leonardo
is in,
DiCaprio.
No,
Ryan
don't-
Gosling.
I'm thinking of people like that have... Ryan Gosling's way too young.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
he might be
No, but he could be like Human Torch. That's what I know we're talking about different things, but I'm just throwing ideas.
We'll see when we do our fantasy draft. We'll see when we do our fantasy draft. But I think they get someone well established for Reed. I think that's
The
it.
leader.
Yeah, the leader, Mr. Fantastic. I think you get a bigger actor who has a lot of cred, who goes, they made some bad movies, but if you saw George Clooney, you're going to be like, oh, I like George Clooney, and he's doing a superhero movie since Batman and Robin. This is great. Like, let's give it a chance. I think it's somebody like that. So I think it's a mix. They have to, I think. I don't think you can throw a bunch of new name guys in there anymore after the stink Fantastic Four has.
No, I think, at least 1 or 2 of them have to be well known.
Yeah. And the Thing, I think, will obviously be super well known because I think it will just be a voice. So they'll get, I don't know, whoever the most popular actor is in the world. They'll get Jennifer Lawrence to do it. They'll retroact.
I'd be down with that.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
What was Taylor, you were shaking your head like yes when he was talking about all new people. Do you think they should go the all new people route again?
I think again, all new people.
And it panned out last time?
You know, that was definitely not Marvel's
I know.
Disney.
I know.
So I think
It wasn't
Marvel.
Marvel's Disney.
Marvel's Disney.
Marvel actually bought
Marvel's
Disney.
Marvel's Disney.
I think they're much better at creating celebrities out of small named people. So
Hey, you got 4 people
Not
right here.
actors.
We'll do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh
I-
yeah.
to be honest,
I'll
I
play
just-
Sue Storm. I don't care. I'll grow my hair.
I get really excited
I'll
thinking
easily.
like of a movie poster seeing like Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, and then Reed Richards like all like back to back. I think that'd be like that's so cool. Like you got the three like
but not Hugh Jackman.
the minds, the brains.
Just recast.
The
Kill off Hugh
brains.
Jackman as Wolverine, then recast him.
As for Mr. Fantastic, he kind of got
As
shit.
Wolverine.
I do want if Hugh Jackman.
That's the future of movie technology.
If Hugh Jackman is not,
That's a new guy.
if Hugh Jackman is not Wolverine, I want them to do a Stanley-like cameo with Hugh Jackman in the first X-Men movie. Then I think they owe it enough to the fans to give a little wink and nod that way. I think they should do that. And no, have the cameo Stanley and Hugh Jackman together doing something. That would be break the
You could have
internet.
Stanley killing Wolverine
Wow.
as Hugh Jackman.
No, it's like some really
That would
depressing
be
thing.
fucking.
It's this like subplot about like how they're trying to tell senior citizens to stop driving. Stanley like hits Hugh Jackman and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Excelsior."
And then for some reason he dies, even though he's like immune to that kind of movie.
Ha! Oh, I guess that was the other thing I didn't ask. I forgot. Percentages on Hugh Jackman in MCU. I'm going 1. I can't say
I'll
0.
drop a clean. I'll drop a. You know what I'll drop? I'll drop a clean 23%.
Wow, that's not bad.
Yeah.
I haven't thought of my percent yet, so I'm looking at you.
So what was the question?
Oh my god! It's one of the easiest questions.
I'm gonna say 40%.
Whoa.
I just want to know the exact wording, like the actual percentage of
Oh,
him as
The
Wolverine.
percentage
or him
of
as
Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in the MCU.
but not as Hugh Jackman, just being Hugh Jackman like in a cameo.
But not a cameo. Like him playing
Because that would
Wolverine.
totally change my
The
percentage.
whole Wolverine.
Like
in
you see
Avengers
the
movie.
claws.
Yeah. You see
Coming
him
out
fight.
of Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine.
Yes.
I'll go like a 0.02%.
Wow.
Wow.
Even lower than my 1.
But there is a chance.
Do we have anything to add on the X-Men and Fantastic Four portion? Because I have another portion we're working. We've touched upon, we haven't gone to yet.
What if they just like somehow just? What if they just take all Fantastic Four's villains and just like don't introduce them at all?
I'd be really mad. I'd be
Really?
like, you guys spent 70. Yes, they have Doctor Doom. They have Galactus, a guy who literally.
Yeah.
eats
What I'm saying
planets.
that's what if they just
They
use
take
their
the
villains,
villains
but they
and
don't
not
use
the
the
heroes.
Fantastic Four.
Oh,
I thought you said, what if they only use the Fantastic Four and just.
I might have said that, but I didn't mean it.
villains.
So you
I
should know what I mean.
I'm completely fine with that. They don't need the Fantastic Four. There was rumors before that they were trying to get Galactus and Silver Surfer because Silver Surfer's in Infinity Gauntlet. So I think even though X-Men's a different thing, let's take them out of the deal. I think they do want those villains more
Yeah.
than Fantastic Four because Doctor Doom you can fix up, and there's a lot of villains that haven't appeared. So yeah,
They're in need of some. You know, they could always use some more cool villains too.
yeah,
Right?
and
Some
Loki's
ones that are recognizable.
100% gonna die. I think in Infinity War, Avengers 4. So I
Really?
think they need
100%? Like you're going. 100%.
If I had to guess one person out of the whole cast, it's it's between him and Chris Evans. One of those two, and I think they're both going. So I think Loki's arc will be redeemed. He'll
Right.
redeem himself, and then they need a good bad guy. They need.
They
someone
really
to
should
come
just kill Chris Evans and just bring him back as Human
in.
Torch.
They can. They can do
They
it.
totally should. That's a great
I'd be
idea.
down for that.
And then he could die and come back as Captain America again. It'd be wild.
So we've touched upon this, and this is where we didn't really talk about him yet. But is Deadpool, and
Yeah.
Deadpool to me is similar to like Wonder Woman in DC, where you could reboot all of DCEU, but you got Wonder Woman, and she's this big hit. Everyone loves her. What do? Let's just say before we get into the Deadpool like radar discussion, same discussion as Hugh Jackman. Do they bring Ryan Reynolds in as Deadpool? Let's just say they full and go, yeah, we're making a radar Deadpool, and eventually he's gonna come to Avengers. He's gonna be censored. Does Ryan Reynolds come in?
Oh yeah.
I think so, and that's where it's so different than the Hugh Jackman thing because I think they can play with the fourth wall thing. And
Yeah,
I think-
exactly. It's like a more realistic pathway than using time travel.
Yeah, and I think Hugh Jackman, they get a mulligan for, you know what, Logan was his end, they gave him a chapter, that's why we're not bringing him back because we don't want to tarnish that legacy. We really, they probably just want to pay less for somebody else.
Yeah.
With Ryan Reynolds, let's say they do recast, that does not go well at all.
No.
They cannot use Deadpool. That will be, I think, 100% a Jared Leto situation. You cast Dane Cook as Deadpool.
Oh God,
Oh,
no! I don't want that.
I love Dane Cook, but
As Deadpool? Yeah, I didn't think so.
I think it's Ryan Reynolds or bust. I think that is a character that if you don't do Ryan Reynolds and if you don't do Rhaegar, they could do PG-13, but I still think people backlash. I think if you don't do full Deadpool, you shelf it, and we don't get Deadpool anymore. And that's the thing where I ask you guys, do you guys agree with that? Or does he get kind of put down to Daredevil Punisher status and they use him for a streaming app where it's like Disney, I don't think they'll ever call it Disney Adult Section because that's too many memes, but Disney Grown-Ups or something like, does he just get put to the streaming app? And I think
That's
they
a
could.
good idea. Yeah.
I don't want that though. I want to see him on the big screen. I want to see him in the Avengers. That's my thing. I get bummed out when it feels like Daredevil's never going to be in the Avengers. You know, when they're like, yeah, we don't really have plans where it's like, oh, but I want to see those characters interact. You know, like, does he get relegated? What do they do? And does Ryan Reynolds come back? Or do they just shelf the character? Because I think it's a big question mark with Deadpool because it's not
Right.
just, that's not on brand.
No, you have to keep Ryan Reynolds. If you don't, like, yeah, people are going to be in an uproar.
Yeah, you're pretty much gonna kill the character.
Yeah, and you know, it might be successful. Like maybe the first one after people will go see it just to see what it's like. But after that, I don't know. I don't think people would go like see continual sequels and stuff like that. I agree that I'd rather see him on the big screen and I want to see him interacting with these other characters. But you know, if for whatever reason it doesn't fit the Disney machine and they have to put him instead, we get like a TV show of him. Well, at least we'll still get Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
True.
And I don't know, maybe maybe it could just be like instead of like a 13 episode TV show, it could just be like, you know, like 4 like longer episode, like shorter movies.
They could do a movie.
They
on
could do
it,
whatever
too.
the hell they want.
They could do a movie for the
Yeah,
streaming
I guess
app,
they could
yeah.
just straight up do that
Yeah.
as well. I don't know. I
The thing is,
that's not what I would prefer, but I mean, I'll take it. Right?
Here's a counter. We've been talking all about why like they would do stuff for money. Deadpool was a huge hit.
Yeah.
Do you put that on a streaming app? That's the thing where I go, how do you not use that and put that in theaters and people pay? If it's Ryan Reynolds, they will pay.
I mean, that's a good point. They already have so much going on in the streaming app.
Yeah.
Like,
Star Wars
obviously they
TV
have
show,
they have
Marvel
new
TV show.
things coming out, but even just like if you include Fox, the amount of things that you would get just by subscribing from things that have come out over the last 20 years.
They
like,
didn't even
that's
need
free.
Fox. That's the thing where I do love that they're like, we're getting this for our streaming. It's like
Yeah.
they were gonna beat all the streaming apps
Yep.
with Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars. This is just like a kick to the nuts to like Netflix and Hulu. It's like, oh, and now you got all these, and they're not gonna sell the rights to any of these. So like next year when all the Marvel stuff goes away from Netflix, all the Fox stuff will eventually go away too from Netflix, and so it's like they're just sucking everything up. So that's
Yeah.
a bad thing for the maybe business wise in the future.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have to have some hurdle to like have an R-rated movie, and you know it might not fit what you are currently doing with Disney, but I think you got to make it happen.
Yeah.
And you know, like obviously Logan was rated R. You don't have to have that for Wolverine in the future. Like that's fine. We don't necessarily need that. It was nice, and I think it worked for that movie.
We
but
had
you
it
don't
for
need
like 15, 14 years of
Yeah.
him in PG-13. People, I think, will be a little mad for a second, but they'll get over it if it's a good movie. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Tyler Briggs? What do they do about the Deadpool conundrum? Because I feel like it's kind of a conundrum in a
They
way.
keep Ryan Reynolds and they just do whatever they want with Deadpool because that's the kind of character he is.
Mhm.
Honestly, as long as they keep Ryan Reynolds and they don't like reboot the character,
Yeah.
they can do literally anything with that character. They can
Hugh Jackman as
like
Deadpool.
they can play. well, then it's not Ryan Reynolds.
no,
they
I
can
know. I
take
just like
Ryan-
what do they do with Hugh Jackman? And then they make Ryan Reynolds Wolverine. And they're like, we got a great plan. And they're like,
I'd
"Let's
be
do
fucking
hilarious.
down with that. So down.
I would be down for like a short
like,
film like that.
Deadpool gets awarded one of the Infinity, like the Time Stone or something, and just like fucks with timelines,
Yeah.
and they just have a standalone film. Great times.
Yeah.
Disney,
Great
you
times.
you should be watching. But I think as long as they keep Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, they can move that character around and do anything they want with it.
Okay.
Just because if Deadpool breaks the fourth wall already, you know, they can give him pretty much any crazy ability they want because Deadpool, and I think it'll work out and people will go watch those movies
Mhm.
as long as they keep Ryan Reynolds Deadpool though.
Yeah.
And but I think I don't know if you wanted to go more into the.
Well, let's get him on
Yeah, you can
on
do it. Yeah,
just Deadpool, and then we'll move into all like the rest. Because I feel like they have the same question with Alien and Predator, and that's what we're
Yeah.
going to talk about. Now, but Deadpool for you, Taylor, what do they do?
Oh, they keep Ryan.
Okay, but what do they do with the character? How come you're so opposed to Hugh Jackman coming back, but not Ryan Reynolds?
His story, he's
been
gone
in
through
Deadpool.
such a huge story arc, and his story's concluded. So that's
Deadpool,
it.
no, it just started.
Yeah.
You got.
Oh.
You were asking for that.
Because technically, if they bring in Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool's had some sort of situations with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, so there's a little of that baggage there. It's a minor
What?
baggage. In Wolverine Origins, remember that awful movie?
Yeah, but that Deadpool's completely different.
Well, they've never said that though. We don't know. They've just ignored it.
They have ignored it.
They haven't ignored it. They had the little figurine in there.
Well, yeah, they didn't ignore it. They acknowledged that they made that movie and it was bad.
And it's great because Deadpool can do that.
Well, yeah, Deadpool can get away with lots of stuff like that. So I feel like, they could throw it in there. But I mean, it's the rated R thing that's a bit tricky. But like, I feel like Deadpool could still be extremely funny and brilliant, even if you take away that rated R-ness. I feel like he's just a superhero character that can just work on so many different wavelengths like that. So
I think my thing is, I think he can work in PG-13. I think you just might lose some of the uniqueness that Deadpool the movie had, and I think
It'll still be success, right?
it will be. I just could it continue to be a success if it's a watered down version. It doesn't work. I think him being censored works for one movie. To me, it's like that works if he's in the Avengers and they throw bleeps over his mouth and he's talking to the camera like, this is bullcrap, I can't swear. I think that works for team-up movies. I don't know if they said, hey, Deadpool, the PG-13 movie. People will see it, but then I think it'll be that rotting on Rotten Tomatoes, and it'll be like that thing. Like,
I just fizzle out.
Yeah, and it'll be like, oh, we really killed a good thing. And it's like, but will they care because they'll have all the rest of the stuff? It's like, we don't need Deadpool. But at the same time, I think Disney knows how big Deadpool is. And though Deadpool sells a lot of merch, if you look at any Comic-Con, that is every 6-year-old boy's costume at like Comic-Con. There's Deadpools every fucking where. So I think they will find a way to make it in their universe at some point. I don't know how, and that's why, like Dylan said at the beginning, I'm nervous, but I'm very excited to see in the next 5 years how they move all these chess pieces and how we either love it or go like, man, we really miss what was going on in the past.
as much as I want to see like Hugh Jackman like cameo in Deadpool or whatever, and like or Wolverine Deadpool, I really want to see Deadpool and Spider-Man.
They have to do that at some point, but then that's the thing. Yeah, I think that's the movie where you make him PG-13 because they have a long-standing like rivalry, like they're they're frenemies, Deadpool and Spider-Man. They hate each other, but they get along. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I think Tom Holland and Deadpool together, or Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds, is a great combo. So So we want to talk about the rest of the franchises with the Fox. Is that what you're bringing up?
No, I was just gonna say like if I guess the rest of the franchises are also R-rated things, so it could be sort of like an end of thing topic, I guess.
Here's the roundup for it. So this is kind of, and we'll still probably talk about some superhero stuff, but here's a roundup of like the biggest franchise I could find. There's probably more of them, but like these are the biggest ones. So obviously X-Men, Deadpool, Fantastic Four, talk about those. Avatar, it's a big one. Alien, Planet of the Apes, Predator, Simpsons, all Seth MacFarlane stuff. So Family Guy, American Dad, Cleveland Show, The Ride, they'll do that. Kingsman, Kick-Ass, X-Files, Home Alone, Die Hard, Ice Age, The Omen, random, MASH, Night in the Museum, and the rights to the original Star Wars film. So they could release them in theaters again. They could release, even though they said they would never do that, because it would be disrespectful for George Lucas, they could make Blu-rays of the OG Star Wars, so the non-specialized versions, which many people want, because they don't want CGI in, like, 80s movies. So there's a lot they would get with this deal, not even just with X-Men and Deadpool. And that's why I think them playing whatever $1 billion amount, I think it is bigger than getting Marvel or Star Wars, because that, and not even the future, but the library. And I think we've already touched upon this. I think they do open up back in the day they had a thing called Touchstone Pictures, and that's where they made Academy Award movies or radar movies, and it never had any Disney tag on it. It's just a studio they had. I think they have that 100%. How Disney market merchandises it, that gets me interested, because I wonder, do they make, like, once again, an adult section of Disney World? Like, do they make a section of that park that has an Alien ride, that has Predator ride? Because, like, for me, it's completely not on brand. It would feel weird, but then they go, fuck it, we're the biggest dog in town. We can make the Elseworlds park, and there's a Planet of the Apes ride, It's like, do they care, or do they make it across the street? Like, I think eventually they'll go, we're running shop. Let's just make this. Who cares if we make a radar movie under the Disney banner? Because people have no choice. All the movies are Disney.
Suck it.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna get that way. So like, I think they start with a separate studio, and then they see how it goes.
Yeah,
But-
definitely. I mean, we've been just fine without an Alien versus Predator park or like any of those parks. We've been fine up until now without
Yeah.
those parks. I mean, maybe 10 years from now they pull one out, but
Oh yeah, I'm fine with it. I just think I look at their eyes and I think of what they can do because they're already making. They had a partnership with Avatar. They're in the process of making Avatar World. I think it's open somewhere maybe, but they're making Avatar World in a Disneyland or Disney World.
That's crazy.
Oh.
So that's huge, and I feel like I don't know which rides, but like a horror alien ride would be
Oh,
so
yeah.
much fun if you're in a
Oh,
train
yeah, no,
and
that'd
the
be-
aliens come
that'd
out.
be
You're like,
really fun.
that'd be good. Like, but I feel like I guess you would make that a separate park maybe. But
Yeah,
you could-
I would think a full another park because they have like Disneyland, Disney World.
Yeah, you'd
Disney
still have to
World's
call
a
it
bit more
Disney
mature
something.
than Disneyland.
Yeah, you'd have to have Disney on it because people will,
Yeah.
if they see a Predator, they're like, oh, maybe I'll go. But if they see Disney's
It'd
Predator
be
ride,
Disney Realm.
something like that.
Yikes.
Something.
Disney's Predator ride.
So,
That's how
It's just a one ride park.
give me your one name. What is the studio? This is a stupid guess. What is the one word they use as like their brand of R-rated movies? Like you said, Disney Realm. What do you guys got? I'm trying to think of something.
Yeah.
Disney's Wild Ride.
Wow.
I think that's just like.
I just like the word wild right now. It's my word of the month, so.
Oh, I'm trying to think of something with history. Something.
With history? Like,
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like
Disney's history?
caveman. No, just something like
Mm.
like the way Star Wars calls canon legends. You know, like it's legends now. I'm trying to think of a title like that. Like, oof. I'm just gonna say the studio is gonna be called Myths.
Myths?
Myths. That's the studio
Like
name.
myths.
Myths. Yeah, like it was a
Like-
myth.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's my one random word. It's better than wild whatever. You just
It
throw
is.
random
I'll-
words
I'll give you
together.
that one.
Fuck you. I think that's great. So.
Wait, does it have to have Disney in it?
No, this is just their
Oh, it
like.
doesn't?
No,
Okay.
it doesn't. No.
I think this is
I
a
just
bad
thought
question.
Disney
I
Realm
thought
was
it was
great
a
for the
fun.
park.
I thought it was fun to throw out as some. Oh,
I
for
thought
Disney
Disney Realm for the park alone for a studio
I think
name,
Realms
I would-
actually still works
I
as
think,
a
yeah,
Disney.
Realm would be cool as
Yeah.
the thing, but it doesn't have to have Disney in front of it necessarily.
They should just call their park just like Disney. You're gonna come here, and that's it. They don't gotta think of a title name. Taylor, you got any? You have to say one because you.
And we're thinking about the park, not the studio, right?
No, just the studio. They could be both if you want.
We both?
Yeah.
For studio.
Just the way they're gonna market their R-rated movies.
Oh, I was thinking like.
Adventures.
Yikes. I was thinking of like Dark Tales or something like
Dark
that.
Tales.
Disney's Dark Tales.
Compete with the dark
That's good.
universe.
I like it.
Yikes.
It's not much of a competition.
Yeah, it's not. So yeah, did we want to any of these franchises in particular? Also, we talked about like the.
I feel like Planet of the Apes, they're not really going to touch. They're kind of just going to let it continue to do its thing. And I mean, were they rated R, the recent ones?
No.
Yeah, so I don't really think that's an issue. I think you, because those are success. The most recent one didn't do that well. Right?
No, not as much as they do. I have the counter argument for you.
Mhm.
I think they do Planet of the Apes TV series. I think that would be
As opposed
to a movie. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think they look at the financials. Maybe they try one more, but I could see them doing an 8 to 10 episode season of Man versus Monkey. You could retell the old movies. You
Yep.
could. I think they, and I actually do think a Planet of the Apes TV show could work if you have the budget and get into like the politics of building.
it could definitely work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what it was originally about, and you sort of kind of get segments of that in the new movies, but
Yeah.
they're quite different, right?
Yeah. So Planet of the Apes, and I hope it doesn't die. I love Planet of the Apes, so
Yeah.
if they ever do that, watch it for Planet of the Apes Retro because I want to do it one day. Because you guys, you've still not seen the OG movie, have you?
No, I haven't. No.
Phenomenal. Maybe the greatest science fiction movie of all time.
Really?
I think so. It's
Oh.
fantastic. Planet of the Apes. You guys have any thoughts on what they might do with that? We can quickly go down these and then
I think shelf it for a bit.
shelf it for a
Do
bit.
non-movie related things.
Mm.
I think with the recent trilogy that's happened, it's in a spot right where it needs to be, and they just kind of let that simmer and then do something. They can do movies maybe like 10 years down the road, but like TV shows and stuff, merchandise, that kind of stuff they can all do. But
Yeah.
movies, they just shelf it.
I'm a big fan of Planet of the Apes. I think that I'm 100% on your side. You know, if they drop a TV series for their streaming app, I think 110%. You know, that's just another like coal in the fire for me.
There's a coal in the fire.
See, they can't use it, but like Disney Infinity, that Infinity would have been a great name for a studio, but they can't. But they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. We talked. Well, did you want to?
Oh,
no.
I just had a joke about studio names, but I can bring it back later.
Alien and Predator. We talked about them quickly. There were anything more to add on those ones?
Taylor, what do you want to see?
You know, I
What do you think
want
is the best pathway to bring Predator back into existence?
Hugh
best
Jackman.
pathway.
Cast Hugh Jackman as the Predator.
Predator versus Wolverine.
Predator versus
We
Jackman.
could see that. Predator versus Avengers.
You know, I
I'm
think
not
there's
opposed.
legit probably comics out there of Wolverine versus Predator. I'm
There's
sure.
not, but there is a legit comic of Batman versus Predator, and
Is
it's
there?
actually really good. Like it's
I could see that being
somehow
really awesome,
it's somehow good. The Predator lands in Gotham.
That sounds absolutely
Yeah,
awesome,
yeah.
actually.
Show Batman versus aliens. That thing.
I think I can't remember. There was a short, not in the comics, I don't think, but someone made a short film where Batman versus the Predator and
There's
the
definitely some YouTube videos of that.
That's cool.
the alien took Joker.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah,
Oh my
it's really good.
god.
It's called Batman Dead End. Really, really well made fan movie.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think, you know, depending how this movie goes, you know, TV series would be kind of cool for Alien and Predator, I think.
I don't. For me, I don't think so. I don't think it can sustain.
Yeah.
Because then you're gonna get Covenant. I think you'd get a TV show like Covenant, and I don't want a TV show like Covenant. I think that was
What if
them
there's
trying to
one
spin-
entire episode of just Fassbender on Fassbender action?
Well, then maybe they could write a check for it. But I think that I think they wait a while. They see how this Predator movie does because that's coming out. Alien, they can sit Ridley Scott down and say, you know, enough of these David Android stories. We're done with you. Alien, I think, will take a seat for quite a while.
Yeah.
Predator, I think, all depends. If that's a major hit, then they'll say, oh, we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
I'd love to see if they did funny, stupid up shit. Some people don't like crossovers. I don't care if they do a fucking Predator versus Iron Man movie. Just do it. I don't care. I know BVS scared some people off, but like, but at that, I think they both wait for a while and they figure that out. And because Alien for me is similar to Jurassic Park, where it's like I think we've done almost everything with Alien. It's kind of like Pirates, where it's like I feel like we've done everything. Like we need to wait for a while till someone comes up with a
And
really
just, like,
great
completely
idea.
redo it,
Yeah, because I feel like we're just seeing similar movies.
And I mean, the alien movies right now are kind of a little bit messy and like.
Not everyone loves them. They're always mixed.
Yeah, they made like 4 movies or whatever, and then they went back, and then they made a sequel to that prequel. It's just
Yeah.
like
And people hate it Prometheus.
people are just like more casual. People don't get where the alien movies are,
No.
but like how because Covenant like did it do very well for you like box
Box office wise, didn't do the greatest. It did better critically than Prometheus, though. It was
Yeah.
fresh, so but not like anything amazing.
Nothing
but
that
Ridley Scott keeps
gets
saying
you
that he's
for-
gonna be making another one. So
You know,
About
He
it.
loves to go.
I think, you know, after how these movies have gone with Alien, I think, you know, it should kind of just... The direction is kind of a little messed, and they should kind of tone that down and just maybe... If Disney does this, they should stop that altogether.
I
I
think they-
feel like
yeah.
Alien as a TV series could be really cool in that perspective, because the comics have so many different perspectives, the novels have so many different perspectives, and if you have, like, a survivor, or just you have, like, in this another, like, alien planet with all these aliens, just you could really play off a horror theme or some kind of, especially if you're working with a bunch of episodes and not stuck in, like, a 2.5 hour time frame. I feel like you could really create a dynamic experience.
I think they just full on remake it in 15 years. They recast Ripley. They do.
I think
they
the
get
tricky
a new
thing with
xenomorph. The
with
whole
the
deal.
TV show is, you know, people. There's this big thing with like Covenant. There's all the alien movies. You know, people want to see like the alien. You know, they want to see the alien like fucking some people up, and that's why Prometheus maybe gets a pass because it wasn't called Alien. It was called Prometheus. But you know, when
But a lot of people didn't give it a pass. Remember, a lot of people don't like that movie. So
Yeah,
they're like,
true.
"Where's the alien?" And then I feel like in Covenant, I was like, "I don't need to see this alien anymore."
well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess like I guess in Alien Covenant, like for me the inclusion of the aliens was really a big letdown. Like it wasn't done very well. I think a TV show is risky because like what do you have like a few episodes of no alien, you're kind of like introducing your characters. I don't know if I'd want to see that.
I
If you do have an alien introduced in like the first episode, how do you like? I'm trying to picture how you pace that so that you have like an interesting show.
Yeah.
That would be like 10 or whatever episodes.
I could actually see it doing. I could see. I don't know how they would do it, but I could imagine it doing decent. Because there's a lot of lore in that universe that in the length of a movie,
Mhm.
you don't really get the chance to touch on.
See, but I don't think
And
people are
so-
digging that lore between Prometheus and Covenant. I think it's.
you worry about Prometheus.
But I mean, like, I
That's
think they've
because-
tried out the lore, and even if it's a new lore, people are like, man,
That's
I think
because-
Dylan's right. Like, I just want to see the aliens
One
kill
thing
some
about
people.
that though is that with that is there's no time for them to really accomplish much with the lore because it's just like an hour or so movie. They don't have time. There's no when they went into the lore stuff, but then there's no payoff at the end of any film.
Yeah.
Whereas if they actually have the time to go into it with a TV series and explore it and actually have a build up and pay off with it, and the kind of backstory and exploring kind of builds up to what's happening currently and builds up to an event, they could do that with a TV series. And
It could. It could also be really
Alien,
boring.
it
Yeah,
could be.
that's
I think
what
it's
I'm
more
saying.
like
that,
that it's
it
really
would be
boring.
Yeah.
it would be hard to do, and I can imagine like the Alien in a way could be with kind of like I don't know if you would call it Walking Dead-esque, but like back when Walking Dead was good, it's not
Oh,
like
no.
the core focus of the show, but it's
Yeah.
kind of like that omnipresent threat
Mm.
Yeah.
that's always there, and it affects how the characters go into certain situations and stuff. But it's
Yeah.
more, I don't know.
It could work, but I think it's
Yeah.
more like it doesn't.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. If it did work, that would be really good.
Avatar, I think Avatar just keeps plugging away, and they let James Cameron
Yeah.
do his thing, and I think it'll
I
be
think
successful.
if Disney takes over, that movie actually starts to come out.
Yeah, it actually gets.
I
on
think
the
that movie will
timeline.
actually be here. Within a
Yeah,
couple years
without
or so.
James Cameron or not, too. I don't think
Yeah, they'll recast him.
They would. I can see that. It's like they give him a deadline and there's like
we gotta
make
fuck. We built
new
this
guy.
a whole fucking.
We give you
place
3
in the
weeks.
park.
We know you have the movie sitting in your fucking room.
We
You're
have-
watching it nonstop, dude.
We have
Give
a-
it to us.
We have an Avatar world building right now. We need a fucking movie. Do you have anything to add on that, Dennis?
2009 is a long time ago.
I'm so not looking forward to Avatar being all over fucking Disney, though. I do not. Oh, yuck. Simpsons, I think that's similar. They let it keep chugging. I think whatever they do as far as their mature studio or their mature section of their streaming app, they use it for that. And even if Simpson ends, it doesn't matter. They'll just use the backlog.
That show doesn't know how to.
Content.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have so much content.
Well, I do wonder how that affects though. If people go, "Hey, I'm writing Simpsons," you get over there and they're like, "Hey, we want you to change this and this." Do those people go, "I'm done making Simpsons"? That's the thing where it's like all the voices can't. Like that's what I mean. That's the only thing where I could see. Okay, Simpsons ends, but I don't think they care because they got 20 years worth of stuff that
Yeah.
they could just have. The Simpsons 24-hour stream. They'll make you
Yeah.
pay separately for the Simpsons streaming app.
The Bob Ross thing.
Yeah. Anything else on Simpsons? I think the other guy lands into that same category too, where they'll use
I
it
was
for.
I was trying to look it up because Futurama was with Fox at some point, and I think it got bought by someone else, but I couldn't really find a definitive answer on the internet.
Futurama
Yeah.
world. There you go.
But I mean that
Hey, reboot a few.
I really don't think it'll happen like anytime soon because obviously that guy has a new show coming out, like a new, he started with Simpsons and Futurama, he's moving on to a new show.
Yeah.
So I don't even think we'd get any Futurama in the meantime, but I know between the creators, writers, and like all the voice actors, like they've always wanted to do more. So
Yeah.
I think Fox was always kind of suppressing them and kept canceling, and then we're gonna do some movies, then we're gonna do some more TV show, and I think if Disney just wanted to let it roll and make some new episodes, I think they could do that. They could pump some new ones out.
Yeah.
That would be
I'd be down for that.
I'm gonna
That'd be a
throw
good
these
happy
all.
band.
I'm gonna throw these all out because I feel like they're kind of. We can just talk about them quickly. There's some I don't think any of us have a take on Ice Age. I think it fits well Disney.
Show.
Kingsman, Kick-Ass, X-Files, the OG Star Wars, Home Alone, Die Hard, Ice Age, The Omen, MASH, Night Museum.
Super excited for X-Files. That's my favorite show of all
I think a
time.
lot of
yeah,
times
that's
there's
great.
we have the rights to them, put them on the shelf in
Yeah.
our streaming service.
The two that I think, other than original stars, which I'll save,
Yeah.
the two that I think would be great, I think Night in the Museum could work if they changed it to a night at the park or something and just had it about the security guy that works at Disney World. And
That's
make it
fucking
that'd be
good
pretty
idea.
funny.
easily,
And
yeah.
bring in Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
And bring Hugh Jackman as the guard.
Yeah.
That's how they do it. But the one that to me when I saw the list of non-geek stuff that I said had Disney written all over it, Ice Age, yeah, but it's fucking Home Alone. They
I
are
know
gonna-
that seems like a Disney movie.
That's
you know?
it's the same way Jurassic Park always feels like a Disney movie, but it's not. Same as Jurassic World, like it feels like it has a Disney filter. When they get this, I think that might be the first thing we see come from the Fox thing. We will get in 2 years from now a Home Alone starring whatever new young actor there is.
Macaulay Culkin could be the father.
They won't hire him. They won't hire him. He's too scary. They're like, we're not dealing with you. I think 100% you get a Home Alone and they make that a huge fucking deal. Whether it's their streaming app, whether it's on their
TV show.
You get this streaming app, you have to watch this before you can watch anything
It's
else.
actually it's an updated version where he's in space and he's left home alone and the
Nice.
xenomorph is there trying to break into his
It's just
spacecraft.
a big crossover all the way.
Yeah. But
I want to see like Wolverine versus Marv. That's what I want to see.
End credit scene of the spaceship, it goes into space and Thanos picks it up and just crushes it. Kills them all.
end credit scene if you're just like we got
Thanos dies to Macaulay Culkin like setting a bunch of fucking traps in his house.
here's my pitch. He's like, well, there's a new team out there and it's Marv and Harry.
The Sticky Bandits are back! Dude,
gotta-
Avengers versus
and we
the
gotta
Sticky
bring
Bandits!
and we gotta bring in the X-Men
Yes!
and
I
Fantastic
want
Four.
that so bad.
But yeah, that's the only thing. OG Stars, I hope they get back because I really, really want a Blu-ray of the OG Stars. I have legitimately the last DVD they ever made of it. I was very lucky, and then because
Of what, sir?
of Star Wars, the OG cuts,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
because they made them, and then Lucas, like it was like 6 months later, 8 months later, said stop making them. So I just like as a dumb kid, luckily, just like I don't have these on DVD, so I have I think it's the one only, and a few people do. We want them on Blu-ray. Just make them happy and do a double feature. Sell it that has the specialized and the OG one. That's my DVD. It has both versions on different discs. You can choose. I want those, and I'd love to see OG Star Wars back in the theater. I'd love to do a marathon of seeing those movies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you fucking put in goddamn Anakin Skywalker, Hayden Christensen as the Force Ghost. You took out the Nub Nub song and Return the Jedi. You made Han Solo shoot first. I don't want those stars. I want my old Star Wars. So yeah, that's like a hopeful plea.
Yeah.
So
Hopeful plea.
anything else about those movies you guys want to shout out? Anything that you look excited for Disney's Die Hard?
No.
Disney's
Disney's
Die
Die
Hard.
Hard.
It'll just be regular Die Hard.
Yeah.
You know, Home Alone, I think I'd be super pumped, but at the same time, it would be a little tricky for me. Like the sequels for Home Alone 1 and 2 were like the other ones were like, oh, we don't have to ever talk about
Here's the
those.
thing.
They're quite
It
garbage.
wasn't Disney's Marvel Home
Yeah,
Alone.
Disney's
Disney's
Marvel,
Marvel,
Star Wars, Home Alone.
I just like I feel
Versus
like
Predator.
with Hugh Jackman as the kid.
I feel like as good as Disney is, Harry and Marv as these two characters are so
Oh,
irreplaceable. I feel.
Oh, they're
like.
gonna replace him.
They're gonna get
with-
replaced, yeah. But I feel like they're
What if
just.
they bring him back though?
Oh god.
Yeah.
You bring them back with not Hugh Jackman and fucking bullshit.
No, but it
Macaulay
is Hugh
Culkin.
Jackman. Hugh
And
Jackman's the
Macaulay
kid.
Culkin. Oh, what actors could play?
Or Hugh
it?
Jackman's Home Alone. They make it 30 years from now. Hugh Jackman's really old and Home
Harry and
Alone
Marv are
in his
finally out of-
senior's home.
Harry and Marv are finally out of prison. Macaulay Culkin's just like living his life. He's just like a dad. He's like a stepfather or something. And they're just
Oh,
like they
God.
just come to like ransack his house and he sets up a series
It's
of
hard to
traps.
think
I'd be
of.
down for that.
Hugh
It'd probably be
Jackman is
awful,
one of
but-
the traps.
Yikes.
That's
That's
It's
not
hard to figure out who to cast, as Harry and
It's
Marv.
not
I mean,
Patrick
those
Wilson.
two actors are perfect.
No,
But I mean,
it's
like,
not.
Star Wars back in
Yeah.
theaters, I'd be down because
Exactly.
I mean, at this point, I think when they were doing that whole like Star Wars in 3D in theaters, the only one I saw was Phantom Menace, and
That's
like,
the only
they
one they
stopped.
released.
Yeah, so they caved. I'm like,
Because
you
no
know,
one wanted to
they
see
did.
those
I
movies
did do
again.
well.
I went.
Composers?
I paid $10 for my ticket for Phantom Menace, thinking I was
Oh,
eventually
God.
gonna get the original trilogy in 3D, and they only gave me.
By the
I
time
think
they
they're-
start making these, 3D might not be a thing. 3D is becoming less and less popular in theaters, so
Down
please
with
continue. 3D go away.
What if Disney just reboots the prequels?
I'm not opposed to that idea. People have said that and they're like, oh, you can't scan. I'm fine if they redo those movies with better
I
actors
mean,
and
they
better writers.
eliminated all the
Bring it back?
canon.
No,
that
you
was
don't
in
bring.
books.
No. If we're not bringing Hugh Jackman back, you don't get to bring back fucking Ewan McGregor. So he's
Well, that
gone,
sucks.
buddy.
I'd bring him back.
Well, no, because the baggage.
I like Ewan
his
McGregor.
story's ended.
But
His story ended in the original trilogy.
Well, exactly. So even more reason not to bring him back.
yeah,
Yeah.
why are you
much
not
more
upset
reason to
about
bring
him
him
being in the prequels?
Because he's young, he didn't have a killed.
His
guy
story
once.
ended. He was gonna go live on a fucking desert, and he did live on a fucking desert.
That's
Yeah, but it's a remake though. If they were remaking Logan, I'm sure you'd want to bring back Hugh Jackman to remake
Why would they
Logan.
remake Logan? Logan was actually good.
Why did they remake that? It's not the prequels who you literally told the story how they started with Phantom Menace in theaters. Not many people saw it, so like, we're gonna stop. Because the
Yeah, but-
idea, you forgot to mention, was every year they were going to release before the new movies, like they were announced. It was Lucasfilm. They were gonna release every Star Wars film in 3D. I saw Phantom Menace, the same thing as you, because I wanted to support it. It did not do well, and they just pulled the plug like, yeah, we're not showing these in 3D. Because you know why? They start with Phantom Menace. They should start with the New Fucking Hope.
Maybe Disney doesn't feel good about Logan. Maybe
Oh, yeah.
maybe if they get those rights, they're like maybe 3 years down the line, they're like, okay, here's Logan.
I guess. That's just the
Logan 2! First
100% Hugh Jackman would even agree to that.
yeah. That's just them showing that they're really mad they've never made a movie as good as that. So, yeah. Anything else on this Fox front? Anything we want to shout out? Whether it's about X-Men, Deadpool, Fantastic Four, all the X movies, because now's the time.
Now's the time.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about this for years, but...
I want to say they should make it called Disney Creative, and then they could label it as DC. And
Oh, wow.
it's just a big old fuck you to DC.
Disney
Yeah,
Creative, and they gotta think of something for E and U. Just I think to even lay it on thicker, to name a category after a failed
Evolving World.
yeah, to World.
Evolving
Universe.
Didn't you say EW?
Did I? I thought I said U.
No, you
said
100% said
whatever.
That's how you spell
But if they
world
named a
in
new
some
banner
words.
of Disney, their failing attempt like the DCU, and just always like, oh, the DCU is this slate this year, and yeah, it's not a bad idea.
I don't know what that was.
I don't either. Yeah, I think we broke down everything we could. I think the only time we'll get to break down more is once they start officially announcing this stuff and we can talk about it as fact and not fiction. I think we have a very interesting decade ahead of us. I think there's gonna be some good stuff and some bad stuff that comes along with it.
Yes,
I think
sir.
there could be some great crossovers, but at the same time, I think there's a chance we lose stuff like Deadpool and everything. So it's gonna be interesting. I trust Disney. Disney's a machine. I've loved mostly everything they've done with Star Wars and Marvel, so I think they'll figure it out. They always have our money, but I think they'll figure a way that I'll at least be happy, and it can't get any worse than the last Fantastic Four movie for that. So
It'd be pretty hard to accomplish that.
yeah, they're like, let's do it.
Just as like a goal for ourselves, as a
Yeah.
spiritual journey. Let's
can
make
make great
one
stuff.
bad movie.
Yeah. Imagine that if Fantastic Four came in a good Disney movie, people would be like, God damn it! Like, what's
I
happening?
might to see that.
I will.
Disney doesn't, start off a story and then say 1 year later.
It's true.
I feel like there's some MCU movie that does that. Well, Iron Man 3 does
But
that,
it's
but it jumps
tasteful.
10 years later, I think.
10
Iron Man
years
3
later?
starts like, I think 10 or 5, and it's like 5 years later.
Really?
Yeah. Check
Well,
the
that's
Marvel
him
retrospective.
that's him
Woo!
narrating.
But that's not the origin.
Cut me off. I think it says 5 years later. No, it's not the origin.
It's true.
Good point.
Yeah.
Tanner, where can they find us as we hope you join us for the rest of the future discussions about this, because we're going to be talking about this a lot. There's a big year ahead of just the releases we have coming up, but this is going to be a big touchstone.
A big touchy stone.
See what I did?
Touch that
I did-
stone.
Yeah.
That's smelly.
Oh, well, ladies and gentlemen, all there, everywhere out in the,
The rhyme? Oh, I thought you were going to continue with the
I
rhyme.
was going for it, but I was
Really
like,
dropped
that
the
hand
ball
motion
there.
is, like,
Yeah.
interesting. So,
It's interesting.
Okay, Dylan's an interesting guy, I'll tell
I
you that.
tried.
with your internet connection or your data, because we're data worthy, but if you
Data
want to
worthy.
save your dollar from the data, you can donate to us because we're also worthy there too. But anyways, you can find us in Google in the search bar on Google. You type in your Facebook. When you go to Facebook in the Facebook search bar, you type in Geek vs. Space Podcast, space bar. Don't type in space. You get to a totally different place that I don't even know. Anyways, when you go down, you're gonna find all this awesome content, including this podcast and so much more, including the Star Wars stuff that's just been popping out. Whenever this cast comes out, I don't know, but there's always cool Star Wars stuff, So.
There's always cool Star Wars stuff like Cantina Conversations. There's always
Wow.
cool Marvel stuff like the Marvel Retrospective.
Wow.
Those are big reasons why you should head over to Patreon. Give us $1.
Self-mutilation.
Give us $1
$1.
for half of our content. Give us $5 for all. You get casts that are months and months
Hold on,
away.
is it a Canadian dollar or US dollar?
It's US dollar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't choose that. When this releases,
That's a lot of Canadian dollars.
It is.
Gauntlet
I don't
will
blame you.
Gauntlet will be kicking back up, so you get matches up there weeks.
The big G.
And if you do watch it, don't spoil it because there are.
That's not cool.
It's not cool. But if you can't help us out there, head over to Twitter, head over to Facebook. You can follow our social media where we announce our shows coming up, new shows like this that are impromptu. They are special because this is huge news. Gotta talk about it. What else? SoundCloud, iTunes, Podbay, Stitcher Radio, Google Play. Those are all our audio. YouTube and Twitch when we do some live occasions. What was I gonna?
Some live occasions.
Sometimes, And then, if you can't help us out on Patreon, help us out with a like, a review, a subscription.
Tell your friends.
Exactly. That helps us. That helps us with shows like this. It helps us make new shows, makes new content, helps us get better gear. It helps us tremendously. So all you gotta do, there's a like button. You see, you just gotta use I don't know how much use of your arm. Very minimal. You just have your mouse. You click, boom, it's done. It's done.
Click that, and we bring you smiles. That's a good trade-off.
Yeah.
Not only do
Effort in to effort out,
and great quality content like this podcast. So we thank you very much. We do not. No one will hear from you next, which will be next week or a day or two, because we have so many fucking podcasts.
we're highly consistent. So.
But it won't be boring. Bye.
Good afternoon, bye. See ya.
Oh, that's your new one. Good afternoon, bye.
Good afternoon, bye.
later, nerd.
So I didn't need to bring my list of names for.
Oh, I need to go pee.
Taylor, I told you it's just a discussion.
Taylor.